to be quiet. Wrecked him and nearly killed him. How you doing, buddy? I think we're live. The panel is up. Says live.
Yeah, we are live.
What are you calling this one?
This one is
Rob Liefeld Love Fest. Anyway, what?
This one is we're probably gonna get ourselves in more hot water.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Good.
Cool.
Well, first of all, my name is Varian Grant.
Yeah, we need to introduce ourselves to all those people out there who don't know who we are.
Yeah. I hate to think that we're, nobodies.
Yeah, well, nobodies and has-beens. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm a publisher of Last Call Comics. Also the founder of IndieVolt.com and IndieVolt TV and IndieVolt Radio, all that good stuff. Start this live stream with Mr. Randy Zimmerman. Randy,
hey,
you need no introduction, but
oh yeah, of course I don't need any introduction. Yeah, there you go. Nobody knows who I am outside my county for the last 10 years. So Randy Zimmerman here, self-publisher, alternative publisher in the comics medium, did Arrow Comics, Weeby Comics, Massive Comics over the course of many years. Last 10 years, I've been printing Flint Comics, which is a made comic book funny paper that we gave away for free all over the county. Had little red boxes, showed off comic strips and columns, had all sorts of great stuff in it. Advertiser supported. Family restaurants, coffee shops, bookstores had a set of red boxes. That's what I've been doing the last 10 years. So that and a lot of commercial artwork, which has been real rewarding. A lot of sequential art, commercial artwork. So it's been good. Does that explain it enough?
Yeah. Randy could have made millions upon millions had only he decided to go trademark copyright redbox.com.
I thought you were going to say I could have made millions if only I had accepted that internship at Marvel that I ended up laughing at the guy about.
Yeah.
How much does it pay? No way.
Well, you were young, and I have
burned my share of bridges.
You would have been trebucheted out of there by now, anyway.
Oh yeah, probably long by now.
Yeah. So we're happy to have you here. So, Randy, let's talk about some things that have happened.
No, send me the link first so that I can brag to everyone that we are on the air.
You should have it. Yeah.
Is that it?
That should be it.
Let's see. Uh-oh. Okay. Let me go up here and hey. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Yeah. I was making sure it was live, and I'm gonna go in and check the chat as well because we got Ted in, and we have Lewis. How you guys doing in the chat? Oh, wow! Look, my face looks really disinterested when I look at myself.
Your what?
My face looks very disinterested when I look at myself on the chat.
You feeling very disinterested in the chat?
My face looks disinterested. I'm like,
Okay, keep talking.
Yeah, I was like, we have a couple things we want to talk about. We got a lot of things that happened this week.
Take the secondary topic first. Don't go to the main one yet. Let people come in.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about is I do got a question from again, I do this thing where I talk to creators and indie publishers throughout the week, and they, we have conversations about certain things, and they'll ask me a question. As
Bullwinkle would say, fan mail from some flounder.
and they'll tell me if they'll ask me a question, or we'll have a conversation, and I'll say, that's a good question. I'm gonna talk about it on this week's live stream, or next week's live stream, whatever.
We need more than just us on here to cover those big questions.
Yeah. But I sometimes I feel like Randy, you're the best person to answer some of these questions. So
That's just because I'm an opinionated bastard. So go ahead.
so I have a question. Two. Well, I got three. Let me see here. Where's my little? There you go.
Oh boy.
So, all right. So with everything going on in the industry,
I'm just calling up the chat so that I can see if somebody's typing in.
we got Lewis. He says, "It's Lewis and Ted so far."
There's three, only three watching now.
Okay.
I'm liking it though. Make sure you hit that like button.
Let's see if I'm not sure if I can do that, but maybe I can. So with everything going on with indie artists and creators now, Randy, is it a good idea for an artist or a creator or a writer in indie comics to acquire themselves an agent?
What's an agent?
Someone to take 10% of your money for you.
Like I said, do those actually exist in comics? I guess they do if you live overseas.
I guess. I mean, look, there's always somebody that willing to stand in front and take 10% of your money.
Yeah, probably, but will they be worth it? That's the big key,
Me personally, I do not think that agents are necessary. I mean, unless you were some megastar with a lot of commitments all over the place, having an agent is not necessary. I can understand having a lawyer, but having an agent, I just feel like, because agents are supposed to go out and get you more work anyway.
I've had an agent a couple of times
in
my long, rather varied career. And both times have not been positive. Well, I've had three agents. Two of them have been very negative experiences. One was an okay experience, but that person was dealing with Hollywood. So, and I knew it was going to go south. So, he didn't surprise me, put it that way.
I wonder if I personally don't think you need one, but unless you're dealing with Hollywood, you're dealing with, taking your creation to another media, then there's no problem with having an agent at that point. In fact, you're probably going to need one. But
that goes back to that unionizing question that you asked last week.
And it's back. It's back.
Some people just keep hitting the same note and don't understand the industry, I guess. I don't know.
I seen it swell on Twitter this last week.
Are people threatening to unionize?
Yeah.
Make sure you get a lot of people that work at Marvel and DC when they do that. Make sure you get as many of those people together as you possibly can, especially the writers. Please do it. Get Mark Waid, get Gail Simone, get them all together to unionize. It'll be so awesome. Because the executives and the people above the executives will flush them so fast, it'll make their heads spin. And maybe we'll get some decent comics again. I have faith eventually it's going to happen.
Just so.
Am I too opinionated already? I'm not even drinking tonight because I have to get up early tomorrow.
Just so we're clear, you're against union. You're against using union.
Oh no! I am not. I am from Flint. From Flint. We are the home of the UAW. We are the really, depending upon who you talk to, we are the origin of the middle class.
Okay.
Right here, the sit-down strike that happened in '36 was the real trigger for that. I am all for unions. I just don't think you'll ever see them happen in comics. I don't. I mean, Kitchen Sink was talking about it for a while. I had a little pin that had a hand with a shackle on it with a broken chain that was holding a series of pens. It was really a well-written or well-drawn piece of work that was talking about the artist union in jest, but you'll never see that totally come out to fruition. And that's because, and people that think that'll happen don't know their comics history. Go back and look at the example. Here's an example of how this industry works. Malibu Comics. Go back and look at Malibu Comics. Prime, Mantra, Prototype, all of these great comic book properties by Malibu Comics, The company was running gangbusters. They were selling lots of stuff. People were paying a lot of attention to it. They had a lot of really, really good quality name creators doing that. You know, some of the books were derivatives of other characters. Prototype was really close to Iron Man, and you know, some of them were original, like Mantra, and Prime was really close to Captain Marvel. You know, that kind of thing. Only he was a lot more muscle bound. Little kid turns into a big muscle bound dude. If you're familiar with Malibu Comics, you need to look them up. Marvel come in before Disney took them and absorbed them. And their official reason why they absorbed them was because Malibu, they said, had a revolutionary coloring system.
Yeah,
that they wanted to. That was the big promotional. That's, you know, the big news item. We're acquiring Malibu not for the characters, but for the marvelous, amazing coloring system that they have. No, that's not the reason why they acquired Malibu. They acquired Malibu because they were paying their talent incredibly well. Good living wages plus royalties. And all of those characters were tied down to really high royalty schedules on contracts that they had to honor if they ever used them. So that's why you don't see any of the Malibu characters in the Marvel Universe.
The ferret, man.
Boom, gone, because they would have to pay royalties on those every time they used them. So
you remember that character they had, the ferret?
The ferret?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome. Had a couple of his books.
They used and abused what they could, and then they stopped. But you know, I knew people who were being paid for doing work at Malibu, and they were being paid like Marvel scale was here. Malibu scale was way up above. We're talking probably a good 50% higher.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, there was good days. But back then they were that was 90s. They were moving a lot of product really fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if Malibu's coloring system was really all that revolutionary when you consider that Photoshop existed even back then.
Right.
But that was the official reason why Marvel acquired that property or that company, was because, man, their coloring system was awesome. But then all of a sudden, everybody stopped getting paid those kind of rates. Boom. And a lot of those guys aren't in comics anymore.
Trico is in the chat. Hello, Trico. How are you? A couple of things we got here from Lewis. He says, in regards to the agent, depends on what you expect of your agent. What do you want the agent? What are you wanting the agent to be, Varian? Well, it wasn't for me, Lewis. It was another creator had contacted me, and they were telling me they were looking at approaching a few agents to see if they could get more jobs at companies. And I'm like, I don't think you need an agent for that.
Glasshouse Graphics is about the only agency that I'm aware of, and they deal mostly with talent overseas. Dave Campetti.
Ted says, when you need an agent, they will find you. And yeah.
Who said that? That's not the way that works.
Ted Davies said that.
Ted?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, the agent, they're greedy. They're some greedy bastards. You need representation. Randy, I don't want to go off the union question.
I need representation.
Let me ask you this. Okay, we said they can't unionize comics. But
No. I didn't say you can't unionize comics. I said you're never going to see it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this.
There's a big difference there. You can always do something.
Let's,
you know, like I said, we need all of those big guys up there at Marvel and DC right now to unionize really bad because, you know,
well, let's play Dream
They wouldn't last in the industry for very long, and we'd have to replace them.
In a dream world scenario, would the unions be different? Like a writers union, an artist union, an inkers union, a letterer union,
creators union?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice if everybody had base rates, but you're not going to see that either because these companies are all competing against one another to see who can pay the lowest. That's the way it's always worked.
Right. So you don't ever get like.
That's why you see a lot of these talents jump back and forth, and DC has these, and Marvel both have these big exclusive contracts because these guys might actually end up getting some sort of benefits or medical, which is like, you know, yeehaw. That's where you go.
Lewis says, Renee, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this person's name. Renee Wittersider, agents for Mike DiCarlo, Michael Golden, some others. I guess you could argue I worked as an agent when I ran Constellation Studios. There were others, but everybody handles how they represent clients differently.
Never heard of Constellation Studios.
I would be concerned that an agent in comics would just again take away. You know, I did modeling when I was a kid, and one day I'll be brave enough to put the photos up on the chat here or on the YouTube station. But I had an agent, and she took it was 10 or 15%. And her job was to go out and get me jobs. And she, I was out of Affiliated Modeling Agency. They were based in Troy, Michigan. They still are in Troy, Michigan, but they have a different name now. I believe they have a different name now. But I did a couple commercials. Say Yes to Michigan commercial, a bunch of ads for Kmart. As a matter of fact, I tweeted an ad to Kmart and Lego a couple of months ago, and both companies replied. That was pretty cool. But I do not. As an artist, I don't know if I need someone to go fish my work around. In Hollywood, yes. In Hollywood, taking the properties that my publishing company has to studios, completely different. To get me work as an artist, I don't know if I need that. And then if I could do, I think everything an agent would do for me in regards to the comic industry.
It would be wonderful to have an agent. I just don't think they're very efficient.
I mean, what's an agent going to do?
Comics.
They could book me convention appearances.
Anybody who wants to agent around a lot of my properties to Hollywood that has some connections, we're always good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. Did somebody get a Facebook message or? Okay, yeah, that was me. Sorry, guys, I got a Facebook message. I had to. I will. But yeah, I think that as long as if you have an agent, fine. If you can get one, great. But it's just not for me. But you know what? If that's what you need, get one. And sorry, this is handed to me.
If you get an agent and you get work, more power to you. Then suddenly that agent is worth the 15% that he's pulling down.
Got this weekend.
Okay.
Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's based off the book, the comic. This is the movie, the Blu-ray. It was an early Father's Day gift. Yeah, there we go. That's an indie comic. It's now owned by Nickelodeon. So I guess they're not indie anymore. So Randy, we're going to talk about one of the first big things, and I have one other question, but I'll wait until we get to this because I've been wanting to get to this.
Let me ask you this: have you seen on Facebook today?
I've been on Facebook very little today.
Okay.
What do you think?
Give me a second here. Let me jump over to it. I got a screen share. This might take a second.
Lewis doesn't say he's an agent for others anymore. Lewis, I'd be interested to know what you took out of your fee for doing the agent work for people.
Oh, it's flashing. Do you see this?
Let me take a look.
I pulled this off of Facebook today.
Who is that?
That's right. Who is that?
It looks like Woody Allen, but
that's the last known picture of Steve Ditko.
Is it
2015? They just posted that today. Somebody actually confirmed that's who it is. You can tell because there's a watermark running all the way diagonally through him. So whoever, it's copywritten to them. Mm-hmm. Bless them for taking that shot, because there's some historians out there who would have really liked to have, known what he looked like towards the end of his life. So, I think that's pretty historical.
Yeah. His office, the office that he worked in, when I went to New York, I went by the building. Am
I back? I'm not back yet. There, I'm back. Anyway.
And I had this idea in my head while I'm there. I'm gonna go up and say hi to Steve. Because it's a public office building.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go say hi to Steve. And I had this idea in the back of my head the entire time I'm driving to New York.
He probably didn't even answer his door, did he?
I didn't go up. I got there. I got in front of the building, and I didn't have it. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna go get a sandwich," and found myself inside of Jim Haney's universe, which is the comic store.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I didn't go inside. I dare not go inside. But it was cool to be out front. Maybe he was in there. while I was out there, but I tricked myself the entire time while I'm driving. I'm gonna go by Dick Cole's office and I'm gonna see him and I'm gonna knock and say I'm a fan and I want to shake your hand and that's all I want. And yeah, that didn't happen. I was a little bit too afraid, but amazing talent, Steve Ditko.
Yeah,
I
one of the biggest.
I often think about what it would be like to have been in that, see these guys coming to the office tomorrow, dropping off their art, Ditko, Kirby, just some of these legends. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Randy. I wouldn't have seen that otherwise.
Yeah, I thought you'd be interested to see it, and our listeners as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to infringe on whoever's copyright, whoever had that watermark. I just think it's historically important enough to make note that that's what somebody has officially confirmed. That's at the Comic Book Historians website, and their podcast is amazing. Steve Ditko, 2015, confirmed photo, a founding father of Marvel Comics and co-writer of Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. Marvel corner boxes, modern Iron Man red and yellow armor, Mr. A, The Question, Speedball, Squirrel Girl, auteur, creative force, and a true one of a kind who lived his life on his own terms with honesty, conviction, and integrity. Oh yeah, historical.
Mm-hmm. Randy, not that you're interested in it, or you might, but when it comes to I was looking at so there was some news that broke that tapes of musicians' art or musician songs had burned up in a fire. Some of the tapes belong to originals belong to Eminem. Luckily, his reels were backed up.
Was that the 2008 fire?
No, this apparently is new. This is apparently new.
No, I mean the fire that went up. Was it back in 2008?
I don't believe so. Let me check.
Because I was on Jason Isbell, who's I'm a big fan of, had a tweet today talking about how the masters might have burned up in 2008, but the artists were already burned by the corporate contracts. I thought that was rather interesting.
Let's see here. Let's see. Hopefully this isn't it's a video, unfortunately, but in the early morning hours of June 1st, 2008, a fire erupted at Universal Studios Hollywood. The flames reached building 6197, also known as the Video Vault, which was home to videotapes, film reels, and library of master sound recordings owned by Universal Music Group. Luckily, some people had backup reels, so they're not missing anything. They obviously those originals are gone, but there are backups. But right. I thought about that in regards to comics and art. Some of those originals, those Steve Ditko originals and the Century Warpers picture. Do you happen to know if Steve got any of his originals back from early Marvel, or
the legend unconfirmed is that any artwork that was returned to Ditko was automatically shredded by Ditko. That's the urban legend. I don't know if it's true or not, but I know a lot of that early Marvel art they didn't have any regard for, that they just kept it around the offices and used to give it away to kids that visited.
Yeah, they said the paper boys used to get like, wow, I need a time machine.
Yeah, there you go.
Of course, I'm not sure if I'd be allowed in the building. Depending on what year it was. What are you doing here, boy?
Well, they were progressive.
Yeah.
You never know. And there were plenty of African American paper boys back then, so you could have just gone in with a duffel bag and walked out with a more full duffel bag.
Yeah,
full of stuff.
Yeah, I would have stole it. You know what that is? Run out, get back in my time machine, come back home. I'm at least a thousandaire, right?
Yeah, multi-thousandaire, depending upon who you got.
Yeah.
And some of that Kirby stuff anymore. I'm sure some of the Ditko stuff sells like crazy. I think I had an actual page at Ditko. I ended up selling it because I couldn't verify who had drawn it, but it was for old Dell magazine. I think Dell or Charlton. Maybe it was an old Charlton magazine. That it looked like Steve had drawn it, that Ditko had drawn it, and that Joe Kubert had inked it.
Mm.
It was an interesting page. I wish I had hung on to it. It was extremely large.
Let me go to this question I got here. It says, okay, so the question is, this particular creator has a spouse that has given him a year to turn profit in this industry.
Okay.
A year to turn profit or get out and go back to his job, which was in advertising.
Was he drawing in advertising, or was he a copywriter, or what? Do you know?
He was doing graphic design and advertising.
Okay. Well, was he doing comic book work or any type of illustration work while he was advertising?
He would do a few things. Nothing as in depth as actually, doing a layout for a page or anything. But like maybe a logo design, and then he bring it over to the computer and put it together and stuff. So he wasn't doing much illustrating, but from time to time he gets like those muscles. But his wife has given him a year.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, you were starting to fade away, but it might have been I muted my mic and my camera there for a second to cough. So. I would worry about the relationship if she doesn't understand that these things take time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that to duck his question. I would definitely work for that year and see how profitable it was going to be. But there's plenty of advertising, especially now that comics are becoming more and more mainstream. There's plenty of sequential artwork that can be found in advertising. I mean, I've made quite a nice chunk of money these last couple of years doing advertising type work where I was doing sequential artwork, for different clients, mostly local. It's still, they paid well. He could hook up with other advertising companies and start making a little money in that direction and, get his wife to quiet down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Sounds like somebody who doesn't want to be married. But, I got an ex-wife. Mm-hmm. I was going to say I had an ex-wife, but she's still around. But she's still an ex-wife. Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough to be working at a comic shop when I met my current wife. And we've been married for, we're almost been married 30 years.
I have a question. My question for you is, how important is it to make sure that you have like Kirby had one. He had a great wife in that she learned the business. She understood the business. How important is it to have a spouse like that when you're a creative person in comics? Especially,
you're asking me to put on my reverend hat. The communication and companionship's everything, literally. And if two people can get in sync enough to exist and coexist for more than 5 to 7 years, that falls into the keeper category, if right. You know what I'm saying. And that type of synchronicity is incredibly rare and gets more rarer all the time. That if you find somebody like that, you do need to, you need to hang on to it as much as possible, which is kind of where I'm at. But if you also have a wife who's vindictive and gives you deadlines like my first wife did, after a while, it's just going to fall apart anyway. If you don't have the communication and you're constantly arguing, or if she doesn't understand your passion, then there's a lack of communication there and empathy for your spouse that might not make for a good marriage.
I met my wife in 2010 through a friend, and
right through him.
Right through him.
It's like vision. Okay.
And it took me 7 years to marry her, but it was one of those things where again, like you said, you say, this person understands what I'm going through. She's there for me. And this is just not for guys or women. This is for women with guys, guys with guys, girls with girls. You know, however you do it, it's just you have
significant others.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
combine
It's that companionship that makes it. You know, the two heads are better than one. It's very simple.
Yeah. So the question though was, how do you know? Is there a way in this industry to make a living and keep a spouse? And you know, my personal belief is
Again, it falls back on how understanding the spouse is. I mean, my wife put up with me for quite a few years, not making a whole lot of money and trying this and trying that. And, you know, if we were trying to make a living off of Flint Comics, we wouldn't have done it.
right.
You know, but she's got a good job and with great benefits or had one and then got laid off last year and found another one because she's that well trained in what she does. So, you know, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have the health benefits I have. And, you know, she wouldn't have the crazy existence, I guess, that we have now if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't have the career I had if it wasn't for her, or that I have. I didn't mean to sound like past tense because in my opinion, I'm still right in the middle of my career. So I got a long way to go. I just gotta start concentrating on that bucket list before I get too old.
Well, according to some people, you're a husband. But we won't go there.
There's, you know, did you catch my latest video?
I did not. I was going to look at it tonight.
Oh, buddy, you got to watch it. There's a lot there.
Okay.
I put in a lot. I spent way too much time on it.
Did you?
But yes, but it says a lot. Even when you don't hear it, it's meant to say a lot. Okay. So like for example, I start talking about DDO and DC, and there's a picture of a burning bridge in the background. It's awesome. That's just one of many examples on that video. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get to watch it. If you're not subscribed, Zim Geek channel on YouTube. I kick out a ranting video or a regular comics history video, every odd one, and then every even one. I show you how to draw a cartoon character using pretty much basic shapes and curved lines. So it's a lot of fun.
Dave the Supreme is in the chat. Hello, Dave. How are you?
I saw he was there. Hey, Dave.
Track wasn't pretty quiet. But yeah, I think that a lot of these
hi, Trico.
People that are in the industry, they definitely, you know, find yourself a spouse.
Anybody know that Sarah that you know, you might want to talk and see if she does conventions. She seems to have a hell of a sense of humor.
Yeah. And if you want to snag an artist, just have a friend of mine. She has a joke. I don't know if she wants to say her name on air, but
don't get in that kind of trouble.
Yeah, she says that if you want to snag an artist at a Comic-Con, a woman needs two things. If it's a male artist, even a female artist, if for a woman looking to snag an artist at a Comic-Con,
I'm thinking of one. Go ahead.
Health benefits and a house.
Oh, no, neither one of those popped into my head.
Yeah, health benefits and a house.
I could have sworn you were going to say cleavage, but anyway.
No.
That's just the misogynist in me, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
anyway.
Man, oh man.
You're getting us in trouble early.
So, Randy, this past weekend, I went to go see the rap party premiere. Wasn't an official premiere, but of a movie by Jeff Swerden, who runs Werner June Entertainment.
Swerden? Is it Swerden or Swerdan?
Swerden.
Okay. Jeff.
And you know Jeff.
Yeah, he does the show. He does the Flint show.
Go to Royal Oak, check out his movie. He premiered it at the landmark Main Art Theater in Royal Oak.
Cool. Did it go well?
It did. And the movie was very, very good.
How many were there?
I believe the door count, he told me, was 110 people.
That's cool.
110 people came in and checked the movie out. And I mean,
was that the same theater that premiered Rotten Tail?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I'm not sure.
But anyway, off topic. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow. Go ahead.
It was a good movie. It definitely it's called The Forever Choice. It's a movie about suicide. I got a chance to speak to a lot of the actors afterwards. I'll be putting those interviews up. I got a chance to do some interviews. I don't really get a chance to do that often, but that was cool. And it was really, I mean, a movie that it's a movie about suicide prevention.
Yeah.
And it really was a good movie. So really,
Cool.
I want to give a shout out to Jeff, his fiance Brianna, who they put together a fantastic movie. Took them 2 years to get filming to last week.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was well worth it. And they've been accepted in the film festival, which is
Well,
next week in Nashville.
that's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah, shout out to them
Oh
and
yeah.
the work he did on that film. They did a really good job. The cast, again, I can't say enough good things about it. Hopefully, pretty soon we'll be able to put it up on Indie Vote TV. But it was just a really good film and
Cool.
really put together. Thoughtfully put together. I promised him that I would mention that. I didn't.
I got to watch a documentary. I think he was involved with. Sorry, I need to cough here. Give me a sec.
No problem. Trico, let's see. I found the key to my wife not hating the fact that I do comics to make sure I pay the bills before I order a print run or go to a comic.
I saw a documentary I think Jeff was involved in about the Beecher tornado back in '53.
Okay.
That was amazing. It was really, really well done. The Screaming Sky, I think it was called.
Okay.
That hasn't gotten enough airplay. I think he's had it around a little bit, but it was very interesting because I knew the tornado had happened up here, but I didn't realize how many people. I guess it killed like 116 people or something like that. Just plowed right through the Beecher district.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy when it happened.
Randy Ted said the video was great.
Thank you, Ted, very much. Thank you.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to check it tonight. When we sign off, I'm going to go to my drawing desk and get some work done.
It was pretty much what we talked about last week.
Oh, Lord.
Nicholas Sesquera, welcome. He's doing dots and dashes. Is he communicating in Morse code?
I believe so.
Nicholas, we have no idea what you're saying.
I had a Morse code translator at one point, but not anymore.
Did you?
Yeah.
He's probably swearing at us as we speak. We just don't know it. Be nice, Nicholas. Don't get us in trouble. We're not even monetized yet, or we'd take your super chat.
The last bit of information, or not information, but update that I had personally is my son, his school had a t-shirt contest for next year's t-shirt.
Cool.
Wanted the kids to draw it. My son and I took time working on the concept. We didn't get our concept in until the due date, which was June 10th, so yesterday. He turned his in. He turned it in, and it was a concept. I think their motto next year is dream big, aim high, lead on. And
lead on.
Yep, lead on
with a B.
Huh?
Bleed on.
Lead on.
Oh, lead on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he got called to the principal's office today and told he won first place.
Was he nervous?
No.
Did he think he'd done something wrong?
Well, yeah, he said he thought he was in trouble. And, he came and she told him that he won. So his design will be on next year's t-shirts for all the kids.
Sweet.
So yeah, he gets a free t-shirt.
Good.
So yeah. That was pretty good news. His art is going to be on everybody's t-shirt. So my chest has been stuck out.
Or in other words, we know you're doing it for the exposure, kid. Is that what it is? Tell him welcome to the real life of an artist.
Yeah.
You're doing it for the exposure. We can't really pay you, but we'll give you a free one, and you're doing it for the exposure.
And
everybody's gonna see it. Everybody will know it was you.
I know that this subject, Trickle said, has been beaten to the ground by some of our
probably with a lead stick.
Some of our much more well-known fellow YouTubers, but this
are there? We have fellow YouTubers. How nice!
People who do videos on YouTube.
Yeah, we're just aspiring.
Get around
We're aspiring to hit an audience of 30 while we're live one of these days.
We had 9 a while ago.
Tell your friends. Oh, somebody ran then. Damn it.
Randy.
That's probably Nicholas because I saw he was dealing Morse code. I got 7 here right now.
What Chelsea Kane and her book Man Eaters. She was did you hear about that at all?
Oh yeah.
For those in the chat who don't know, Chelsea Kane writes a book called Man Eaters, where the young ladies in the book become werecats during the administration cycle. She was asked, if I'm not mistaken, how.
Let me. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Let me interject here.
Okay.
Which means that nobody has read the early Alan Moore Swamp Things, because most people that I have seen review her book think it's a ingenious new idea.
Okay.
And it's like, there really are no new ideas. Alan Moore wrote about a werewolf that rode on the phases of the moon in association of menstrual cycle. Way back in Swamp Thing. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress.
Okay, no problem. Well, the thing is, she was asked, hey, how come there are no trans women in your book who turn into werecats or the man eaters when they have their menstruation cycle? And I guess that's the question. And she's been trying to answer that question as delicately as possible, I guess. Maybe she hasn't been trying to answer the question. It's like, look, guys, it's just because, this story is about women. Yeah. Menstruation cycles, and they feel that, well, are you saying that these people aren't women? And so she's now looking for a sensitivity reader for her book, and she said, hey, I can't pay anybody, but I can send you some free copies of the comics. And people went ape shit. You can't ask people to do free work. Which is like, you have how long you've been involved in comics.
Yeah. Well, kid, you're doing it for the exposure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exposure. The exposure to poverty. Yeah. So, Randy, thoughts on doing stuff? First of all, that's the first I've heard. I've got proofreaders, I've got copy readers, sensitivity readers. What the hell? Have you ever heard of that?
Well, they've always had consultants since the 60s looking over the Saturday morning cartoon shows to make sure that they're sensitivity levels are high and that the violence is low. But no, she dug herself into a hole because there's no way you can please everybody. And especially if they're overly sensitive, there's no way that you're ever really going to remotely appease everybody. And she's trying to do it, and she's not going to be able to. But she's just trying to put out the fire with gasoline. That's all she's doing.
Yeah, I'll say.
So for one, she's doing an image book. For two, she's doing an image book that's maybe selling 6,000, which means she's not making any money at this.
Yeah, she said she's not making any money on the book.
Yeah, no, because a lot of times with the image stuff, if you're not making a profit, you're paying them back.
Mm-hmm.
So, sensitivity reader. It's just an SJW term to hope my Twitter account stops being negative. That's all. Hey, maybe I'll hire a sensitivity reader.
Trico says all she had to say is you just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, that's true, but you could also lean back on hormones and stuff, depending upon exactly how they change into werecats. How much of a female do they have to be in order to turn into a werecat compared to how much of a male they have to be? I don't know. There's and again, I probably would have, if I were to use that excuse or explanation, I'd probably be digging a hole with some transgender person out there that gets all bent out of shape because I said something wrong.
M3SOZ says, I need to make some money doing vintage horror tales from the Crypt style. That will be a nice draw. I can see a comic like that doing pretty good. I mean, you figure The Walking Dead has made tons of money, doing the Night of the Living Dead, basically. Something like old school Tales from the Crypt would be very interesting. I'm a big fan of Tales from the Crypt. I at one point had all of the DVDs. I caught them on sale at Walmart for $10 a piece, the seasons, and I had them all, and then they vanished.
Poof.
Yeah, they grew legs and they walked, and haven't been able to.
You had somebody over at your house that wanted them more than you did, huh?
I don't think they made it to this house. I think during moving, one of the moving guys said, "Hey,
it's the whole set of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah,
I've never seen all of those. I think I'll keep it."
Yeah, exactly.
I got in on the Russ Cockrum reprints, the EC reprints when they first started. So I got hardbounds of all of that stuff. Tales of the Crypt, Haunt of Fear. I use I'm not going to wheel my camera over there, but I use my Haunt of Fear collection in order to keep the lid of my freezer down. I've got my Two-Fisted Tales collection here propping up one of my monitors because they're like big blocks. I used to have a whole almost like Lego built set of EC volumes, 2 vertical, 1 horizontal, and then a TV on it for the longest time. But yeah, those books are amazing, and the Cockrum reprint editions are so durable. I love them to death. I got to meet Cockrum one time. When I realized who he was, I had to shake his hand. I said, "Thank you so much for those EC volumes. Those are amazing." I didn't tell him thanks a lot because they're keeping my TV up, but they're still amazing works.
Yeah, Randy, is there anybody in comics that passed without you being a chance to meet them that you wish?
Oh yeah, a ton of people. Because there was a whole period there that you're in such admiration of these people and their talent that you never go up and shake their hand. Kirby, I never met officially. I seen him a couple times at shows, but I never walked up and shook his hand. I wish I had. That's why I think I told you I have a sketchbook that I'm the front and back covers. I've got people's autographs in them before they started charging for them. Going around and meeting people that I really respected just to have them autograph the inside of the book. And a lot of times they'll look at me funny and they'll go, "You want me to sign your book?" And then I'll open it up and I'll show it to them. And there's all these different signatures in it. And they'll go, "Oh yeah, hell yeah." They'll grab whatever and draw inside. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there that a lot of guys that have passed. I was back to Lee Falk at a New York convention one time. I'd have loved to have turned around. He's the guy who created Phantom and Mandrake the Magician. I'd have liked to have met him, shaking his hand, just to tell him thanks. Read a lot of stuff when I was a kid. And, so a lot of those old strip guys that have passed, I would have loved to have talked to or taken to. Would love to take them to dinner,
for me,
and pick their brains. They all these guys have stories.
For me, it's Lin Wayne, who creator of Wolverine and many other things. But
I met Len a couple times.
I would have loved to have met him.
Yeah.
Before he passed on.
Wolfman, I got to say a few words too, and thank him. And Archie Goodwin was also. I sat across the table from him one time at breakfast, and kind of leaned over and said, "Dude, I love your stuff."
Now, I have a question for you. At your shows, you ever brought Dan Frazier out to any of your shows?
No. I'm too small for Dan.
Are you?
Oh yeah, way too small.
With all the original art Dan has?
Yeah, it's still too small. I'd be worried anyway because a lot of his stuff is so priceless.
Yeah.
That he really needs the space to breathe and to have a proper gallery setting. I've never really asked him to do one of the shows because I've never really had or thought that I had ample space in order for him to set up his cage walls and display his work. Anybody out there who doesn't know Dan has gone around. I'm not sure what his challenge is for sure, but he is medically challenged. And he went around to a lot of artists and have them do a lot of artwork and stuff for him, usually very large size on large sketch pad stuff.
Yeah.
And he would circulate a lot of the material between people. Like you'll see a George Perez drawn picture of Superman versus Thor with some big inker inking it and some big colorist coloring it. It's just there. A lot of the pieces were amazing. They were going to put a book out of his material at one point, and both Marvel and DC said no. Wouldn't let him do it because it had too many characters together.
I got a chance to see a piece that Dan had done. Gosh, I mean, and I was just talking to him at Motor City, and we were talking about artwork, and he said, I asked him, I said, Dan, I said, your collection is so vast. Like, I would be like, he puts it up at these shows. I'm like,
that's a scratching of his collection of what he's actually got. He rotates pieces a lot.
His collection has to be worth several million.
Oh yeah, probably.
And he runs the Dream, which is his this fantastic collection of original art, and he brings pieces to me, lets me look at them all the time, and I'm like shaking, holding the page. It's like, you know who? Of course he knows.
Well, he used to bring the stuff around to me on purpose just to see the expression on my face, because he'll open the sketchbook and there's this phenomenal drawing. And you sit there and you go, crap, Dan, holy crap. Look at this. And, he'd walk up with like, here's a incredibly large picture of Hawkman by Joe Kubert, who's no longer with us anymore. And you go, Dan, frame this thing. Come on.
Yeah. And I think Dan's like almost the glue that holds like at least a lot of us together, especially in Michigan. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know Dan.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody who does. And remembers everybody.
But I've done a couple pieces. I did a couple pieces for him. And I did one of the Just a Lot of Animals team from Captain Carrot. That's a Justice League funny animal.
He had it up.
Group. Yeah. I kept bugging him. It took a couple of conventions to go, Dan, I did that piece for you. Where's my piece? And he put it up right out in front at the Great Lakes Con, just to rib me, I put it up. It's like, okay. I got pictures of it too.
M3S
sitting on his frame, he has a wire mesh wall setup that he puts up and puts out a whole gallery at shows that'll let him display.
M3SO3 says, what do you think about Bernie Wrightson and Kelly Jones?
Who you?
What do you think about?
What do I think?
Yeah.
Who said that?
M3SOZ.
SOZ doesn't know me. Probably. I gophered for Bernie Wrightson from 2000 to 2003 at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy to do it. I loved the guy. I loved the guy immensely. He owed me a favor. He sent me a devil duck that I still have on the wall up here.
Okay.
That one time as a package as a thank you for watching his stuff. I've sold some of his stuff at the San Diego show. He had he was at the point in his career where he was doing a lot of production work for movies. Mm-hmm. So like he had 50 or so drawings of a gigantic rock creature from Galaxy Quest. Some of them look like the Thing. Some of them looked like early versions of the Thing. Every type of version of rock monster that you could ever imagine was right there in this huge stack that people were going through, that the studio had paid him to draw. And then in the end, they just decided to use a stack of rocks, which always threw him. But no, I did it for quite a few years, got to meet a lot of people that came up to meet Bernie. Mm-hmm. It was one of those unforgettable experiences. I was really happy to do it. So they'd have me out there to San Diego Con. They'd fly me out. And then half of the time I was out there, I'd be out talking to other people, trying to push my stuff.
And,
so
Kelly
Jones, awesome talent. Now, I don't ever remember meeting him for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. I know I've been at a couple of shows that he was at, but still, incredible work. Bernie, though, you can't, Bernie's a master. His Frankenstein will always hold up. Hopefully it'll always stay in print in order for these young young kids coming in to sit there and actually see, here's the book that literally cost him his shoulder and gave him an incredibly hardcore case of tendonitis that he was trying to get past for the rest of his life. But the book is a wondrous, unbelievable piece of work, that'll stand the test of time. And his EC work was, or not EC, but his Warren work, his horror work was incredible, just unmatchable.
As we approach the 10 o'clock hour here, Randy, there's a bit of drama in Hollywood.
More drama
in Hollywood, yeah. Let's talk. You brought to my attention today, and I read a little bit of it here. Apparently, and I haven't seen it yet. I don't know how many people here have seen Dark Phoenix. Do not worry, I have not seen it yet, so no spoilers here. Randy, you haven't seen it, correct?
No, I haven't seen it. I don't think you could spoil that movie, though. I think they've already done that. All you got to do is read a review.
Yeah. But there's a little bit of problems behind it. A little bit of drama. There is reports going around the internet that the movie was Lewis has no interest to see it. The movie was
as Bugs Bunny would have said, there's a little bit of sabotage.
Yeah, movie was sabotaged. So that it would not do very well.
Must say that a lot of this is just conjecture on the part of some article writers and some Hollywood insiders, I guess you would say, putting pieces together. Mm-hmm. But it seems that Marvel stalled the release date of the movie and made them change the third act of the movie in order to get it as far away from Captain Marvel as possible, so that Captain Marvel could be the first big, all-powerful super hero female character out there, as opposed to Phoenix with the Phoenix power, even though, there has been X-Men Last Stand already. But hey,
which really nerfed her.
But they didn't call it Phoenix at the time, so this was Dark Phoenix. So she actually led had the title of the movie as the character. So
yeah, here's a problem with that. And when you have a movie like Dark Phoenix, which in the comics was a saga, should that be a couple movies, maybe 1 or 2 movies long?
Well, the thing is they planned on it being 2 movies. And then the Disney Fox deal started going through and they pigeonholed it into 1. Sat down and had to rewrite a lot of stuff. And then Marvel come in and asked them to rewrite a bunch of other stuff. And they rewrote other stuff. And then they went through 2 reshoots. And then Disney sat down and watched the movie and made them come back for a 3rd set of reshoots because it was too close to, apparently, the ending was too close to the ending of Captain Marvel. Mm. And then they shoved the release date back a couple months in order to get Captain Marvel out first.
Yikes.
So it very quickly turned into the redheaded stepchild that got,
no good.
The Cinderella treatment, pretty much.
No good for them anyway. I mean,
that's the the feeling. Plus a lot of the blame they're saying can be passed off on the Fox marketing crew, even though Disney was there during the last couple months because they had possession of Fox. That it can be their going out kicking the butt as they go out the door. They can take the blame for that, for the Dark Phoenix losses. And then they'll just chalk that off as the collateral damage in the acquiring of the Fox and the line of Fox IPs. So Disney will just gloss that over and everybody will continue on, or everybody that's left there will continue on.
All right.
But yeah, it was a sham. They probably should have never released the movie in the first place. Disney could have totally squelched that film, and they decided not to. Depending upon who you talk to, whose article you're reading, there's some thought that Feige intentionally wanted it to come out and be really bad and to do this in order for when he gets X-Men in the into the MCU to blow it out of the water. But, it's all conjecture. Some of that could be sour grapes because Feige at the moment has the Midas touch. So if he can make Captain Marvel make $1 billion, he can pretty much control everything in Hollywood. But it's another testament to how much control Disney now has over the industry. You know, if that's what actually happened. TV 14.
That's right. That's at 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay. What are we? Oh, you're marking the. Wouldn't that be adult?
No, TV 14 is back in the old.
That's a slight swearing. That's what drama, live sex and violence. What does that DLSV stand for?
I think it's sexual situations.
Disney level sexual violence.
It's Disney level sexual violence. That's it right there.
You know that's what it is. Capable for 14-year-olds.
It's I know the L is language.
Tuna Makata.
At least sensual or sexual, and then the V is violence. And the reason why I did that is because years ago, during the whole Monday Night Wars for WWE, WCW, or WWF at the time, WWF would go into TV around the 10 o'clock hour to keep everything, because okay, now we're gonna get a little bit more adult, a little more risque at the top of the 10 o'clock hour. So that was always, so I said, okay, well, it's 10 o'clock, so here we go. Let's see here.
We have 9 watching now. Hello, whoever's out there that's not in the chat.
Let's see. Lewis says, I hate to say it, but who cares? They were never going to do the real Dark Phoenix storyliners. They never did any real version of the X stories. They
just knocked over your light board, buddy. I told you it was in the way.
Yeah, it's in the way. It's in the way, but I just have this thing of putting it up. I don't know why. I plan on doing something a little bit different with the backdrop here pretty soon. But
oh, you keep it up, you're going to end up breaking the board.
Yeah. It's my little you guys can always find us. You can find us at Twitter on indie_volt or indievolt.com. And of course, if you want on Twitter, you can hashtag high voltages. You will see the tweet. Let's see here. What do I have? Who dares message me in the middle of my live stream?
Keep going, buddy.
Let's see here.
Rage on.
So yeah, there's that bit of information that came out.
Now we're past the 10 o'clock hour. We can actually swear. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's exactly right. We can swear and we can use all the foul language we want.
Sexual situations.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about penis cleaning again, okay?
No penis cleaning today. No penis.
Okay.
Although I've been letting everybody see that article.
That's just you.
Yeah. I think that Varian put the board up on the black backsplash behind you.
Back
mean
there.
This
or back there?
Back here on the TV? I suppose I could. I suppose I could. I mean, got the big, huge TV back there that's just rolling a Roku ad.
I keep telling them it's unreadable where it's at anyway.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, if I put it back here, it's really unreadable.
Should just make a moving screen like that and have it just passing by as you as we're talking.
I could do that.
I still say you should enlarge your Indie Volt logo down there about 3 times.
Well, I know there's a certain amount of space you can go, but yeah, I can probably do all that.
Oh, I've seen those a lot bigger than that, though. That's almost unreadable.
Yeah.
I have like a 27-inch screen and I can barely see it, but that could be my eyesight too.
Well, I mean, if I disappear, let's see if I disappear, what it does. Yeah, that's it's still unreadable. You can't see me now. I used to try to keep it on Indie Vault TV, but
Too many wagging titties. Is that what it is?
no, Indie Vault TV.
You need more soft core on your channel, son.
It's fairly
Get a copy of Kentucky Fried Movie and run it. You will cream in your jeans. That's Armageddon.
I'm gonna get it on.
Yeah, there you go.
There was an adult film by that name.
You haven't watched Kentucky Fried Movie, have you? I think I asked you that.
I understand that movie 43 is a spiritual sequel to Kentucky Fried Movie.
What is it? 43?
43, yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's on one of the
I know Amazon Women on the Moon was a continuation of it.
was it?
Yeah. Had Sybil Danning in it and Arsenio Hall and a couple other people. Kentucky Fried Movie has Bill Bixby and a few other, George Lazenby's in it. A couple other big people. John Leslie's in it, if you know who that is. Yeah. They do an episode where he goes into a porn theater that the film is in feel around. So that's kind of interesting, but off topic. Anyway, if you haven't seen A Fistful of Yen inside a Kentucky Fried Movie, that's one of the best kung fu parody movies of all time.
Let's see here.
I got clips. I should try to pull it up. I was saving it for my video with Dr. Klon.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Klon ends up interrogating a guy. He's got a fake hand, takes the hand off, puts a knife on it, cuts his head off, and goes, "Now take him to be tortured." Anyway,
let's see here. I'm logging into Indiegogo to see if I see anything that's that you want to talk about. Looks like the Earth.
There's plenty to discuss. There's so much drama going on in silly Twitter, and the CG people are arguing amongst themselves, and it's just a bunch of like little kids whining and talking about, "Oh, you said this," or "so and so said that," or so and so spouts off a religious belief and they shouldn't have, because he's cutting out half of his audience, and just other people telling him he shouldn't do that, and he's like, "I'm religious. I'll do what I want."
I read online on Facebook over the weekend that the downfall of Comicsgate will be the ego of its creators.
It's too late. You're never going to see the downfall of Comicsgate. All these people are crying about wanting to see the end of stuff, and it's too late. They've already, that snowball is already rolling down the hill. These guys could argue amongst themselves for the rest of their life.
Well, they're saying that
and it's not going to stop what they're doing.
They're saying the downfall will be the ego of the creators, because it's going to start being a numbers game. Hey, I made more than you. My numbers are better than yours. I'm at 250,000. I'm at 270,000. You can't pull the same numbers I pull. That's going to be the downfall.
To continue on that, here's their stick in their butt. Once these people get disjointed, once these people are argumentative enough, because you're already seeing fractions. Doug Naples out doing his own stuff. Mike S. Miller's out doing his own stuff. Ethan's out doing his own stuff. That's not one audience anymore. That's three audiences that are going out and now talking to 3 times as many other people that might not have normally heard or wouldn't want to associate with the other CGers or whatever, and it's just going to exponentially keep growing their audience. Look at Mike S. Miller's, the amount of money that he's raised on Lone Star 2 compared to Lone Star 1. We'll see what happens when Cyber Frog 2 comes out, and see if how much money that actually generates. It doesn't matter. Their numbers can fluctuate all they want. They're making hard money. You knock a zero off of their Indiegogo campaigns, they're still making more than what they would make at DC, and they're doing their own stuff, or Marvel, or wherever they were working in the mainstream, because these guys don't pay worth a whit. So you're all of these people out there crying or for trying to forecast the end of this. There, it's not. I hate the organization, the CG label, brand, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I think it's so horribly misbranded. It's not even funny. But that's not. It's not. And as more time goes on, it's no longer a factor. It's not important. What's important is that these guys are doing Indiegogo campaigns. They are really blowing past their minimums in a tremendous amount. And they're going to keep doing it because the money that they're bringing back into the market is all money that ran back in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, because Marvel and DC chased them off. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of money that they haven't even, I would say they might be lucky if they've scratched 15 to 20% of it at this point. There's plenty more money out there, and there's more people that are going to come in, especially every Marvel movie that goes out there. People are getting more and more interested in sequential art, and they're going to want to see it in whatever form possible. The biggest problem now is that somebody has got to do, Samedi's in an ideal place with Alterna. Somebody needs to do cheap comics again. Somebody needs to do comics to bring people in who don't necessarily want to spend the big bucks, but still want to be entertained by something close to quality.
And hold on, Randy, I got a phone call I got to take, but go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay.
That long.
You want me to do a rant? That's all right.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's so sad to see these people out there wanting to proclaim the end of an era that hasn't even started to begin yet. You know, Lewis says he doesn't even think they've hit the 15%. There's so much money out there, so many millions of comics that were sold over the years. You know, during the 80s and 90s, these people have lost one or two zeros to their circulation. The mainstream has. And these guys, not necessarily guys, but these readers out there stopped because the quality of the books blew. And they're slowly starting to come back because people are starting to do their own stuff. When you're doing your own stuff, you care a little bit more. You start watching quality. You start worrying about what the product's going to look like. You end up getting 6 months behind on your first campaign because you're trying to figure out what to do. You know, but once these guys figure out what to do, and they're talking to each other, even if they're arguing with one another. Hey, I use this kind of mailer. Hey, I used a fulfillment service. Hey, it's the postage. If you send it out this way, you can get it out overseas. It's all gonna, these guys are all talking to each other, and these guys are all making their own individual publishing houses. It's not like Image, where everybody has to get along together in order to promote themselves to the retailers. The big problem with the market is that none of this Indiegogo money is bleeding back down to the retailers. Retailers are gone. Diamond is gone. They're cut out of the business. They're going to have to figure out how to survive on their own, and they're not going to do it by giving these independent guys a hard time. And, you know, Diamond is supposedly starting to look at more of the independent books and the independent companies and treating them a little better. But really, is it too late for that is the big question. We're going to see the next few years how or if these retailers can hang on. You know, they're starting to already have more and more retailer summits on the down low with a lot of these big retailers in order to because Diamond is starting to scramble. They're watching their money dwindle all the time, and their unit counts of stuff going out is getting smaller and smaller all the time, and the people that they're catering to is ever shrinking, and it's not growing. And that's a really big problem for Diamond right now. And they're going to have to do something, which honestly, it's a hole that I think they've dug themselves in, that they deserve, you know, every bad bit of it that they've got. I think they've inherited a problem they're never going to deal themselves out of completely. You know, Diamond is going to have to downsize pretty hard. I think their big warehouse, if you ever saw their video, their big warehouse, all their people there doing, you know, massive distribution work. It's silly when you look at it. When I saw it, I just shook my head. I said, you're trying to computerize all of your systems, you know, and pretty soon there's not going to be any comics for you to distribute. I hope you're happy, you know. Looking at the boards here, people need to chat in. If you got a question, when Varian gets back, or I'll be more than happy to answer it. We still have a little bit to go for the show. So Trico says he's barely dealt with Diamond and he hates him. Well, yeah, back when I was doing Arrow Comics for the third time, we kicked out 56 products or so through Diamond. And I had Scott Moore working with me, and one of his sole jobs was to deal with the Diamond rep because I couldn't deal with them because they don't do logical business. And we ended up tracking a Diamond rep down at a Chicago show who told us flat out that anybody in the green section, Diamond just wants you to dry up and blow away. And that's exactly his words. Colleen Jenkins, welcome in. This is Ralph. One distributor is bad for the industry and for local comic stores. Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be that competition out there. And back when in the 80s, when the indie market was rolling strong, there was a half a dozen distributors out there. It's kind of hard for people to realize nowadays because all it is Diamond. Diamond come in, jockeyed their way in off of Marvel's Heroes World fiasco where they tried to be their own distributor, and it cost them. It cost the entire industry. And we're just now, really starting to feel that. That and a lot of the other bumbling work that the mainstream has been doing to their product lines. So could be pretty well remedied by a good set of editors and somebody out there who is actually looking for fresh talent. So.
Sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. Ordinarily I wouldn't, but
yeah,
mine is in the hospital when they called. So
who? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to make sure that they
hope they're doing all right.
Oh, they are. They are actually getting discharged in a.
Ralph, Colleen, if you are a LCS, local comic shop, you have no recourse. The thing that I'm starting to read now, especially that have popped up in the last couple of days, is a lot of these retailers are starting to say that they're saving grace, believe it or not. It's starting to become their back issue bins. That there's a lot of people coming in now buying back issues because the current stuff blows. Mm-hmm. And that ship is slowly starting to turn. So a lot of these comic shops that decided they weren't going to carry a whole lot of back issues are the ones that are really suffering because all they have are Funko Pops or gaming or whatever to try to, or graphic novels, if they're lucky to try to lean back on. Where a lot of these guys who have been in business for decades, who have these extensive back issue collections, are starting to see people coming in buying a bunch more back issues than they used to. It seems to be quite a trend from what I've been reading. That's kind of interesting. I was hoping that we would get to address that today. When I get a chance, I'm doing a video about how you need to go in and support your local retailer, especially if they have extensive long boxes, by just taking an afternoon and going through and looking to see what he's got.
Well, we still do get a chance to talk about some of that because I do. I came across a conversation over the weekend, and like you said, the weekend was full of like comic book stuff.
But before you continue on, we've been sitting at 9 watching now for quite a while. Will somebody call a friend, tell them to get up online so we can hit double digits? Go ahead, Varian.
Let's see here. 1 second. Let's see. Okay.
Ted, since you're taking a second, Ted Davies says instead of a union of creators, how about a union to distribute our creators' own comics? Randy, thoughts? Randy tried to do a distribution deal. There was a couple of guys that approached me back when I was doing the third version of Arrow, and they had a couple of small press people under their wing, and they were talking to other people about distributing their work. And all of these guys, whenever they called them, would start telling them the same thing in the same order over and over again, as if Diamond had gone around and called them and says, you don't want to jeopardize your relationship with us, because that's what they kept saying. Oh, we don't want to jeopardize our relationship with Diamond. We don't want to sacrifice our percentages because we have to meet a certain amount in order to get a certain percentage off, and blah, blah, blah. And they just gave up. Yeah, there it is, ICPA. Ralph remembers the short-lived ICPA. Whenever I get around to cleaning my basement, which I hope is going to be here in a couple of weeks, I've got logos and stuff I plan on putting up and making a video about it, how we tried to do a distribution company at one point, and man, we hit a stone wall. We didn't even get past the A's. We hit Antarctic and realized that somebody was going around telling these companies the same thing over and over again, because it was almost the same verbiage that we were hearing over the phone word for word.
Yeah, I too have worked on something. You know about it, Randy. And it is very.
I thought we weren't going to talk about your porn career.
No. No. My porn career is what I used to say. I would like to name myself Harry Bohemus. No. In regards to a distribution company, I do think that and it's not that I'm against trying. It is just like you said. I think that there are people who definitely are interested in keeping things where they're at and how they are. And the thing about it is, I'm not sure that in the future we're going to need distribution companies. Seems that some people are very interested in coming on going out themselves through Indiegogo and through other means, doing their own books and shipping them that way.
I still think that if depending upon how all of this pettiness levels out, that somebody's going to start a fulfillment company, just like somebody's going to start a crowdfunding site specifically aimed at these books. They'll be their own distributor. They'll be their own promoter, and these guys will just create separately and ship the books into the fulfillment centers that'll ship them out for them, because that's what the Indiegogo thing desperately needs. I can almost promise you somebody up there between Indiegogo and the CGers are sitting there now trying to figure out how to make it work, how to have their own fulfillment companies. Where you run your own Indiegogo campaign, you ship them the mailing list, they ship the books out for you for a fee. There's money to be made there in the middleman situation. Lord knows Diamond's been ruling the roost forever off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the cat kind of is out of the bag in regards to some people in the chat know that I recently started working on trying to put together a distribution company for indie comics, not just comics, but some indie entertainment merchandise. So we actually would distribute movies, the finished product, the DVD, to a store. Same with
I think you're going to see Samedi spring that up within the next 2 years on the East Coast.
Yeah. And I ran into while talking to people, I ran into a lot of interested people. And I still have all the information, and we talk about it every now and again. So it may be something I pull the trigger on in the future. But right now, it's been a lot more fun, doing Indie Vote, the videos here.
Samedi's been so slammed with reorders and fulfillment stuff that he's moved into a larger storage facility. That was one of his Indiegogo campaigns. But when he gets a chance to breathe here in the next couple of years, I think he's definitely leaning in that direction. He's going to solicit his own stuff and everybody else that he's sub-printing and anybody else that he can get his hands on off to his little chain of, retail shops that he's dealing with. And that chain I won't say that chain keeps growing, because he just had a video the other day where he said he lost 4 in 1 month. And all 4 of those went out of business. It wasn't his fault, but they went out of business.
It's unfortunate what's happened to comic stores, the comic shops.
It's a month-to-month situation, and it's sad to see. And like I said, the retailers that are surviving are the ones that are, surviving selling other things.
The comic shops, and here's where we get some hate mail. The comic shops need, in my opinion, they all need a leader. They need a voice, someone to speak on behalf of them. And in my opinion, that voice is Dennis Barger.
Okay.
And I honestly think that now there's a group of individuals that need to unionize.
And again, that's they've tried to do that a couple times over the last 20, 30 years, and the same thing happens. It just gets disjointed, and then eventually people stop talking to one another.
I think that Dennis Barger is probably the person to do it, and
I don't think Dennis wants to do it. Dennis wants to make money.
Well, you know what? Look, sometimes what's a leader if he isn't reluctant?
Well, I can't speak for Dennis because nobody really knows, knows Dennis except Dennis. So
yeah, I don't think Dennis. I mean, he may not have a choice but to be.
It might get to that point. Depending upon his relationship with Diamond, he gets fed up with him enough. I could see him doing it, but it would be again, he's in the middle of so many other things. I don't know what he would, It's hard to say.
Yeah, you think that and let me see what the chat's saying.
Is that Eric back behind you on your screen?
It is. It's from Indie Vault TV. He did a live drawing.
Cool.
He was live drawing his comic from a webtoon, Dinosaur Man. And we have a couple of those on Indie Vault TV. So if you have a Roku or Roku TV, Roku box, you can go get Indie Vault TV. We got a couple things on there. It's free. Everything on there is free to watch. Yeah, please do if you get a chance.
Ted Davies says Iron Circus has a distribution company they use, and it's working from what I heard.
I haven't heard of that, Ted. I'll have to look into that.
Might need to. I mean, it's only going to take one person with enough oomph just to keep it going. Especially a independent creator. Is Iron Circus a publishing house? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never heard of him.
Oh, okay. But yeah, more power to him. We just lost somebody. We're down to 8 people watching now.
It was, I think that, and back to Barger real quick, I know that Dennis was one of the first stores to carry any book that I ever created. He definitely was the first store to ever pay me for any books I ever created. So, and I think I mentioned last time that Dennis and I and 2 others, a gentleman by the name of Joe Cotton, and I believe it was Kevin Lee.
Trico's still here. We don't know who else. Colleen Ralph is here. Ted's here. Lewis is here.
We spent the last couple hours that you could actually. I don't smoke, but that you could actually smoke inside of a Michigan bar. 2 hours together, celebrating that it was going to end at midnight. And so we went into the bar like at 11 o'clock, and I think Dennis lit up a big, huge cigar. So, it's funny I've seen some bars recently bring back smoking.
Well, the state was supposed to allow us smoking license for 125 years, is what I had heard.
Cool.
And which they should have done, because then, the state would get their taste. But I guess they're too busy trying to restrict the movement of medical and recreational marijuana to worry about who gets a smoking license. So.
Okay.
They should have always done it, because it would have generated more money for the state. Maybe we'd have gotten the damn potholes filled faster. Maybe you could have fixed the damn roads. Anyway, instead of threatening to raise gas 45 cents a gallon.
We got a hold on, question for you here, and this is gonna make you rant. So,
boy,
I will. Okay, yeah. Let me see here. I'm gonna speed the question ahead because I'm gonna not speed, but I'm gonna go.
We're gonna jump ahead a half an hour.
I'm gonna. I don't want to read the whole question because it may give away the person's name, and I'm pretty sure they don't want me to do that. So, we talked a while back about a convention that
Are we going to beat that dead dragon again?
Oh, well, there's something else happened. Something else happened. Was and I'm pretty sure you're gonna get a kick out of this. So I'm gonna put up one of these next time too. Let me see here. I'm gonna get one of these so I can put the figure up every time we have to have you go off on a rant.
Oh yeah, this isn't just a mischievous shirt I'm wearing, and it's an incredibly old mischievous shirt that I'm wearing. You can see it's all cracked up. So yeah, back when I was one of the times that I wanted to do a series on her, I was working on her web strip. I did this up back in 2011. So that's how old the shirt is.
That's you said when did you do it? 2007?
No, 2011.
Oh, 2011. Okay.
Yeah. It's dated 11/13/11. So, but yeah, I cut that myself here at the off of my vinyl cutter and heat pressed it on. So that's how well it lasts. In fact, there's a nice big hole in it down here. So if I'd have remembered that, I knew there was a reason I had that in the bottom drawer. I need to cut another one and print it because I like the design. I like the way that the character was drawn up. I just have never done much with her. So
yeah, Mischievous is one of your favorite characters that you've worked on. I think that I know we spoke off the air a little bit about the character, and then one of the ones that he said you're going to go back to it if given the chance.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. So I've got a treatment. I almost had the property placed at DreamWorks for that's another one of those agent stories for 3 films, and the agent, well, in my opinion, kind of bungled the job, and the director really didn't want to run with it. So,
all right.
But yeah, I have a treatment for a mischievous story that I keep wanting to do that I will get around to eventually. That's got all of the Aniverse characters in it. It'd be really cool to do it. Make an awesome graphic novel. So I keep thinking about doing it as a Big Little book, but nobody knows or cares what Big Little books are anymore. So, let's jump in here since Lewis is jumping on the chat. M3 SOZ says, "Do you think the internet and social media killed comics and art in general?" Absolutely not. The mainstream is killing the mainstream. That's pretty much what Lewis said. But the distribution killed the mainstream. You have to go back and look at comics history, M3 SOZ, to see that comics. Go look at my last video on Zim Geek. I kind of blow through that explanation pretty quick, but. Comics went from a mass market medium where you were moving comics at drugstores and spiral racks like this to the direct market where retail shops, comic shops sprung up. And when the comic shops sprung up, for some reason, comics decided that they had to narrow their demographics in order to make hardcore sales down to an audience that was mostly male, mostly 25 to 55, mostly white, and mostly middle income. So you saw a lot of male power fantasies, and you saw a lot of large-breasted babes. And that literally constricted the market, and it chased off a large amount of audience, very similar in the opposite swing of the pendulum of what Marvel is doing today with all of the girly books chasing off the male audience. Only this was entirely across the industry, and it was all because the retail shops had formed, and they were formed mostly by people that fit that demographic, mostly 25 to 55, mostly male, mostly white. So that's the audience that comics decided that they were going to cater to. It wasn't the consumer, it was over to the retailer. And that's why we ended up getting the stagnation that we got. And then when Image came in, Image really catered to that demographic in a big, big way. And the whole industry swung in that direction. But there was a period there in the 80s where it looked like we were going to break back out. You had a little bit of that. And then the black and white market happened, and you had a lot of variety, and you were getting a wider audience, more diverse audience, more inclusive audience. And then Image happened, and boom, we were right back to that sad demographic again. So that's really what's been killing comics, is the mainstream comics stagnation. And you're seeing some of that break out slowly but surely into other avenues, and the comic shops are slowly swinging out now. So, sweet Christmas, say it isn't so. Was there a time when women were into comics? Yes, absolutely. There used to be, you go back, and again, this is part of history. A lot of the kids nowadays don't realize. Kirby and Simon, Joe Simon, Jack Kirby created the romance comic because back in the 50s, they were desperately looking to stretch the medium out. In the early 50s, Bill Gaines had come out with EC Comics, and he started horror comics, crime comics started, because after the war, superheroes started dying out. People started yawning at superheroes. They just didn't have the luster that they had when the big evil disappeared, and Hitler and Tojo and World War II was over. And so a lot of comics during the war. They were desperately looking to stretch their audience out. There was a Jerry Lewis comic, a Bob Hope comic, Sugar and Spike, that you see here, came out during that period. And the audience really, Sugar and Spike's exactly like Rugrats was on Nickelodeon, if you remember that show. But there was all sorts of romance. In fact, DC did romances, comics all the way up until the early 70s. Young romance, young love. They tried a gothic romance book. There was a female readership out there. The problem is when the direct market came in, the retailers, like I said, mostly male, mostly white, mostly 25 to 55, decided we didn't need them. And so they ignored them. And that's, quite frankly, I blame the rise in manga mainly to the fact that Marvel and DC decided what their demographic was, and it didn't include a female audience. I think that's why you have so many females that are into manga and anime now, is because DC literally chased them off. They still wanted to be entertained, and they ended up finding that entertainment through manga and anime. So, yeah, Ralph says Classics Illustrated too. Go back and look at the stuff that was coming out during the 50s. Amazing, crazy stuff. Even though there was a Comics Code Authority in there that eventually came in and stomped all of it down into kids' literature, you were still getting a wide variety of comics. It wasn't all superheroes way back when. I mean, the focus really started picking up once the Silver Age happened, the FF come out and Spider-Man come out, and suddenly superheroes were selling a lot. And you were getting a larger female readership then too, that they kept trying. Marvel actually tried to hit that audience quite a few times, just like they decided to diversify during the blaxploitation days with Luke Cage, and during the Kung Fu days with Shang-Chi and Iron Fist and all of this. They're trying to get Kung Fu influence in there. So, or a more of attract more of an Asian audience, especially with Master of Kung Fu, because that book was amazing. There's a lot of that I think that Marvel has kicked out an omnibus on, but it's way worth reading. I'm really sorry they never kicked out an Essentials, because I think that there's an audience out there for that property. The book was really well done by the people who did it.
Mm-hmm.
Where were we at?
Shang-Chi.
Trico says his wife loves me. Says he's really informed and should be on Book Riot. No idea what Book Riot is. But thank you. Trico, tell your wife I said thank you. Very, very nice of her. But yeah, I love comics history. There's a lot of there. I posted something today on Facebook that you probably missed, Varian, where Steve Bissett posted a nice lady's blog. I friended her right off the bat. As soon as I saw her, I got to go back on her blog and read some more of it. But she did the work and research and found a female comic artist that nobody knew about, that used to work in comics back during the 40s and did a strip in Super Snipe Comics, which is probably a title very few people have even heard of today. But it was a little kids strip that she did and got paid pretty well for. And the only reason they were able to verify her existence is that they went back into the archives of Street and Smith that was donated to some college and found the pay vouchers with her name on it.
Yeah, and that's
credited to that work. Very, yeah. Well, you know, nobody wants to keep track of this history. Nobody thought it would ever be important. But
right.
The disposability of the comics back then is why they're so valuable today. So,
yeah, I remember reading that a lot of those comics were just kind of just, you know, thrown away, putting the, you know, moms got rid of them during the whole the war with saving donating paper for the war. And
Oh yeah. Well, when they were rationing newspapers, a lot of comics got destroyed, and then in the 50s, there was an anti-comics movement. In fact, if you go see the Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin movie, Artists and Models, they talk about the horrible influence of comics on juvenile delinquency. It's a very anti-comic movie, even though the lead character, I think it's Jerry Lewis, is a major comic artist, doing a book called Batwoman, I think, something like that. But it's been a while since I watched it. The big thing you want to watch that movie for is Shirley MacLaine, though. She was amazing in that film. So, and she was a dancer. So
I have a question for you, Randy.
Hang on, I'm pulling up an image here.
Okay.
On Bing. So keep talking.
So well, I don't want to distract from your image pulling here.
That didn't sound right. Thank goodness it's after 10 o'clock. Anyway.
The thing was, I was going to ask you is that there was an artist who was at a convention this weekend, and he was told, he asked the person next to him did not show up. So he went to the powers that be at the convention and said, hey, on Saturday morning before the show opened, he said, hey, the guy next to me didn't show up. Is it possible that I can get that table and spread out? I think we've all done it. Anybody who set up at a con, you know, table next to us is available.
Sure.
He was given the go ahead. Go ahead, feel free.
Hang on to that thought just for a second.
Okay.
Here is an example. Who are we talking to? M3. M3. Here is a cover for Young Romance Comics from DC back in the late 70s. See, it's a 20-cent book. What to do if you're too shy. And see, they were working for a diverse audience. There's an African-American female face right there. Do's and don'ts of dating.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the reason that they stopped doing that was because they weren't selling. So they started concentrating more on superheroes. They used to do Western comics and science fiction comics, and that's where Adam Strange came from Strange Tales or Strange Adventures. Not Strange Tales. That's where Dr. Strange came from. But comics history is amazing. There's all sorts of different comics. You'd be amazed at the different varieties of comics that were out at one time. And it's even crazier if you go over to Japan and see the variety of manga that's out there and the audiences that they cater to. It's every demographic, even every fetish that you can imagine is out there and available in sequential art form. So anyway, you were saying, sorry.
So he and his wife, they spread out next to him. And he goes home. And everything is good until Monday morning.
Okay.
And he realizes that there's $300 and something missing off his credit card. From the
yeah.
Charged him for the extra table.
Wow. That is, in my opinion, a dick move.
No, thank God it's after 10.
What?
Thank God it's after 10. This is where I get my popcorn and listen to you go off.
I think that's an acceptable terminology, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to go off on it because if it was at my show, I'd have walked up and asked him to take the damn table because I don't like looking at bare spots.
Yeah.
At Grand Rapids, at the cons there for a couple of years, I'd go through and make up fake signs and put them on the tables because Mark never did anything to fill those tables. And say like Invisible Man comics, you know, smile and wave, that kind of thing. And just, you know, I had a few other ones that I'd do up whole pictures and just run out and tape them to tables.
I actually got a chance to expand to 3 tables once because of my neighbor left to the left of me left, and neighbor to the right of me left.
Uh-huh.
Expand. It was awesome.
It might have been your breath.
It could have been. I hadn't bathed, so and then I've been waiting to use this picture. Oh, oops. I've been waiting to use this picture pretty much all day. Randy, here we go.
Huh. What?
Here we go. I've been waiting to use this.
Let me switch over. Okay.
Let me see here.
I'm back reading the conversation that they're having in the chat that we are not a part of.
What kind of stuff is that?
Oh, talking about buying comics.
Buying.
You have a cat. You have a cat on your screen. Oh, it's gone now. The invisible cat.
Let's see here.
If you while you're looking, I can get off topic here and tell you if you watch my current video, you will find that I figured out how to put video clips into my video. Very happy about that.
You told me that. I was Randy, it's time for you this week to share your opinion on Mark Wade.
Why? There's nothing I can add to that conversation that hasn't already been spoken or said.
Well,
nothing. You know, I like we said 2 weeks ago, he's the savior of comics. People, when they see him at shows, should walk up and thank him for saving sequential art because he's done it. He's done it. Him and Gail Simone both. They chased these people out of the mainstream as their numbers were dwindling, and they decided to go out and make their own Indiegogo campaigns, and now they're going to be independently wealthy while they sit down and do the comics that they've always wanted to draw. You know? How can you be mad at that? Is that the opinion that you want? You can't wait for him to lose his lawsuit so he can lose his butt? And everybody that he's been begging for small change from, you know, to help him defend his lawsuit. The only way, like I said, he's getting out of that is by technicality. Because Richard isn't going to take anything short of a genuine apology and probably his personal life ruined. Not his personal life, but, you know, Wade's financial standing decimated.
notice that I use a picture of Bill Goldberg, who I think looks like an angry version of you.
I've heard that before. I don't think he looks anything like me.
Really?
Yeah. The nose is all wrong. My nose is much bigger than his nose. Much bigger.
I'm gonna get a range. I'm gonna get a Bill Goldberg action figure and put a Flint comic shirt on it. Sit it here.
How funny. You're gonna have to add a lot more to his belly then.
I sit it right next to the lava lamp back there.
I'll take his his buffness any day. That's a well-formed, well-earned artist hump right there, despite what anybody wants to say.
And let me see here. So Rob Liefeld quit Twitter.
It's dogwood season. Our house looks like it's snowing, and so on the net, it's dog pile season. That's what it is. People are looking for an excuse to waste time complaining to other people about something that they said, and heaven forbid you actually have an opinion about anything that's remotely your own, because you're going to get dogpiled by the silly little truth. Richard says that there's only 12. There are always 12 angry people out there that are very vocal, and they'll gang up on you until you know, you either tell them to go screw themselves or you leave. So that's what Liefeld did. He left. He's got better things to do. We all have better things to do than to be hanging and being twits on Twitter. You know, it's that simple. I'm on Twitter. It's useless. You know, I promote some stuff on there. That's about it. I've got 104, I think, followers. I've still got more followers on Twitter than I do subscribers on my YouTube channel, which I think is much more important. But what can you do? The only reason I really have my Twitter account, I think I told you, is I foolishly put it up there and I had it hacked by some Russian idiot who kept having all these strange people writing to him. And after I got so many notices in my mailbox that somebody with Arabian-looking language posted to me on Twitter, I was like, man, I got to take that site back because I'll end up having, if I don't already, I'll have an FBI file on me. You know, they'll think I'm some terrorist dude. So I went and took my Twitter back and I've been using it slowly ever since, and just to get on there and see what everybody else is doing, especially the CG guys. But they've been using it to argue with each other lately and talk about their religion that I really don't want to talk about. I was raised, I had enough religion my first half of, well, my not even half anymore. Pardon me. First 17 years of my life, I had enough of religion, so I'm done.
What's your Twitter handle?
What's my Twitter handle?
Yeah.
Randy Zim.
All
How
one word?
How creative is that?
All one word?
Yeah. You're following me, I think.
Yeah, I am.
Andy Volt's following me. It's capital R, A-N-D-Y, capital Z-I-M-M.
Looking up something here.
It's like on YouTube, it's Zim Geek, Z-I-M-M-G-E-E-K, one word.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there. Number 17 just went up yesterday. Day before. Yesterday. It was yesterday.
Let's see here. Give me 1 second.
Pretty sure it was yesterday. Seems like last week. Anyway.
Let me see here. Where's yeah. That's all right. So there's a couple of sites that will allow you to estimate.
Allow you to what? Are you talking red tube again?
No,
Stop
no.
that.
Not today. I haven't been on rare tube today. So right now, Randy.
You porn. Anyway.
No, I don't think I've been on YouTube porn in at least a week. Let me share this here. Give me 1 second. So, and this is good for anybody who's gonna be creating. So let's see here.
What the heck is that? Free valuator.
Yep, this is your value. This is the value. This is how much your Twitter
Did you start this?
Mm-mm.
Who in the heck started this? Nobody asked my permission.
I don't know. That's how much your Twitter's worth.
My Twitter?
Yep.
I don't know how, but I got 118 followers. I guess I'm gonna have to go over and take a look now. Do they keep a strict eye on that? It's like a ticker tape. So I'm worth $8.48. Is that what they're saying?
Yep.
What is that? To advertise on my channel?
On your Twitter.
Okay.
How much it will be worth?
I do have 118 followers. What do you know?
What am I, kid_V? Oops. It's not an underscore. Christ. Okay. Hey, $18.
You're just trying to rub that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I had no idea, but I'll take it. I'll take the $18. The thing is, I've probably been blocked more people than you.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't blocked anybody that I'm aware of that I remember.
People. Yeah.
Nobody trolls me though, so it's okay. Now that I've said that online, somebody's going to troll me.
Let's see here. Oh, this will be a fun one. Let me see if I can find it first. Oops. And I stopped sharing like an idiot. Don't know why I did that. Let's see here.
Had to cough a lung up there.
Yeah, my wife was feeling a lot better, and then she got sick again. So she's been coughing and having all types of problems. And
Oh, that's not good. Burn some candles, buddy. Take a onion, slice it in half, and leave it in the kitchen. The sliced part up.
Really?
So it'll absorb some of that bacteria. Yeah, that's why they go black, is they're absorbing that bacteria in the air.
Yeah.
The smell is bad, but just light a candle. Candle will burn off the bacteria.
I did not know that. I'm gonna have to look into that now. Let's see.
Yeah, whenever we're sick, especially during the winter, that's what we do. That and eating onions and garlic always helps.
Oh, onions, garlic. I mean, maybe, but what's gonna do? It's gonna.
Trico wants Varian and Randy action figures.
Mine'll be short. Mine'll be. Hey, look at that. That's awesome. Hold on, I have to share this.
Heck yeah, useless. M3SOV says, you're going to voice your opinion. Be prepared to take the abuse. Comes with the territory. Social media did have promise in terms of an actual free marketplace. So they shut that down. That's just these idiot corporations. That's all going out and pushing their weight around. We don't like hate speech. Was it Facebook? I think it was Facebook or YouTube. I think it was Facebook has banned the word honk. HONK.
Have that.
Real smart of them.
My wife's Twitter is worth 86 cents.
We all have goals.
Yeah, 12 followers. 12 followers.
No, it hasn't become a soapbox for religion, political debate, and bullying. Well, bullying, yes, but it's not even political debate. It's just political mimicry. Nobody's actually debating on social media anymore. They're just espousing the same BS that they caught from the previous site. You're following InfoWars and you're spitting that out, or you're following Breitbart and you're spitting that out, or you're following CNN and you're spitting that out. None of that information is 100% correct. So nobody wants to think on their own anymore. They just want to, what was the word? I had it. Anyway, they just want to mimic what they saw on another site. So that's all social media is about. They're just an amplifier for idiot mimicry and soapboxing. Especially Twitter. Twitter's there for people to argue amongst themselves. Because you only have so many characters, everybody gets really pointed real fast instead of trying to be, nice and empathetic and have any sense of etiquette.
Oh yeah. Twitter is gosh. I'm wondering right now. I'm looking through it right now, and man, there's
instead of information sharing and collaborating, that's all it's done. Is everybody gets their own site now and they espouse their views, and then they'll argue by mimicking their own soapbox or whatever that they had to the next guy, and all it is one mimicking voice up against the other mimicking voice. Nobody gets along. Everybody blocks everybody else, and they're all happy in their own little holes where they're talking to other people who believe the same stuff as you do. So it's no debating.
Right. I'm wondering if here's the problem. Twitter eventually. I don't know. I don't think people are going to be on Twitter in a couple of years. I think Twitter is going to end up being one of those things. will look at back at like MySpace, like, hey, remember that? Because
It'll be old people. All the old people. Everybody's already moved. There was a big site. What's the site I heard of the other day? I'd never heard of. I think it was Tip Top, something like that. The site that pushed old Town Road, the song.
yeah, it's
It caught fire on one little kid site, kid social site. That'll be the site that when they're old will be their Facebook. You know, I've always been on Tip Top or whatever the heck it was called. TikTok, I think it was TIK, TOK. Is that what it is?
Yeah, TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's TikTok. Yeah.
Everybody mimicked the same video for old is it old dirt road? Old town road. I wanted to say Old Brown Road, but that's a whole different thing. That's after 10 o'clock thing.
Yeah, that's
Watch my video. It's pretty funny. Anyway.
I am. I want to watch it. What was kind of? I wonder if you're gonna get any hate mail from it, man.
What?
I said I wonder if you're gonna get any hate mail from it.
Probably too small. Only 30 views. So 32 views, I think, last time I looked. Next to nothing.
Surprise! I've never said anything to her, but surprisingly, Gail Simone does not block me on Twitter yet. Because I'll see her tweets.
Doesn't matter. Unless you want to get up there and thank her, you know. Not for the current work that you do, but the fact that you chased all these people out and now they're saving the sequential art as an art form. Yeah, they've made Ethan Van Sciver rich in more ways than one. So
yeah, I wish one would make me rich.
36 views. That's the latest. I wonder if I can. I bet I can't screen share that. Anyway, never mind.
Well, someone make me rich. I'll be rich. All right. So, Randy, I have a quick question for you too. As
sure.
In regards to the industry, we already talked about why there'll never be a union.
Why what?
Why they can't be unions. What the problem with unions are. Also,
it's just like Walmart. The corporate structure is so strong, they're never going to allow them to exist.
Oh, should that guy we talked about with the table? Think he should he fight that charge on his credit card bill?
That's a good question. I would definitely call. All depends on if the convention's committee run or if it's run by one guy. If he knows the one guy, he could call him up and say, "Hey, dude, whatever? What'd you do that for?" And just and call him to the carpet for it being a dick move. If it's a committee, then it might be a little rougher. But I would still call somebody up there and go, "I don't like the fact that you did this. I like your show, but I think that was uncalled for you to do that. And it's okay if you want to apply that money to my next year's table. But if you don't, I might have to rethink even coming to your show." And depending upon how big the show is, they'll either laugh at him or, apply it to his next year's table. So, or her, whoever it is. But yeah, I think that was pretty sleazy.
I know I would have woke up the next morning and, oh my God, the level of cussing.
I'd have been on the phone. I'd have been on the phone as soon as I saw the charge. I said, "Dude, why did you do that? I asked if I could move into that table in order to fill the spot for you so that it looked like you were more full. I mean, if I'd have known you were going to charge me for it, I'd have just let it sit there bare and made your convention look a little, leave that hole in your convention and make it sound like what he did, which is what he really did do, is did him a favor, by putting more merchandise out there. That's a little sleazy. And also it all depends on how well he wants to keep his standing at that show,
Yeah.
How much complaining will do if it's going to, cost him his table and he's actually making money at that show on a regular basis. He might not want to do it. He might just take it. And the convention people might just figure he'll take it. So
I personally would have been beside myself with rage. But
I would have been too. I'd have called him on it. So why'd you do it? and say, well, I'll know better than to ever do that again. In fact, I'll be thinking about, whether or not I really need to have a table at your show next time. I'll be thinking long and hard about whether or not I want to be at your show ever again. Was it a major show? It had to have been a major show. It was $350 a table.
Yeah, he was at one of the cons this weekend. I forget which con he said. I wrote it down, but he was telling me about it, and I thought, that's unfortunate. It usually, I've asked promoters before, hey, can I move to that table?
I'd have probably used that exact same expression, whether I was burning a bridge or not, and just called him up and said, dude, dick move. Why'd you do that for? In my opinion, that was uncalled for. You didn't have to do that. Or you could have told me at the time you'd charge me for the table and I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Yeah, that like, are we going to have to start asking now?
Used to be back in the day, we all knew everybody. That's why I like doing one-day friendly shows. So I can walk up to the guy and go, dude, that table's next to you is empty. Throw some stuff on it. Especially if they paid me already for a table.
Yeah.
But nowadays, especially with these shows, especially with these silly run by committee type shows and all these people scared of their fees, you literally have to cover your bases.
Yeah, I think that, I've never went into a show. I've asked for tables before. I've never had somebody charge me extra, ask me for extra for that.
Dick move.
The day after.
That's why.
Are we going to have to start asking the promoters now, hey, can I have a table? Are you going to charge me for it? But I think if you ask promoter, are you going to charge me for it? I mean, promoters say, yeah.
Then I won't move. That's all. I'll be there. It'll be empty. I like I said with Grand Rapids, I just stick a sign on. Yeah. Be back in 3 days.
Yeah.
That's all. I went to lunch. Be back in 3 days.
And I'd be interested what the chat thinks about that too. If
I hope he made money at the show though.
Yeah.
It's my big wish. Huh?
Some dollar.
Because that would be a really crappy thing if he actually caused stress to his finances for charging him for that table.
An extra $350.
Yeah.
And my would be if the table was $350 for the 3 days, but I only took it over on Saturday. Why did I get charged a whole $350?
That would be the next big question. But the real big question is, why'd you do it in the first place? It might actually be a clerical error, and let us hope that it is. And that might be even how he starts the conversation. Hey, I happen to notice on my statement here, you must have made a mistake because you charged me for that table you told me I could take on Saturday. Just wanted to bring it to your attention. And if the guy goes, yeah, I did it on purpose because you need to pay for that table. I said, dude, I'd have never taken that table if I knew you were going to pay me or you're going to charge me for it. I didn't give you permission to charge me for that. And then that's when I would have said, it's a dick move.
Do you think that artists like an artist that's local to a show, Wizard comes to your town, Wizard sets up a Wizard World Flint, do you think that Wizard should give you a free table?
No.
There's been a growing concern that some of these conventions might owe local artists free tables.
You don't owe local artists nothing. I don't give local artists free tables unless they worked on Flint Comics.
Yeah.
And then it's because they're, that's all part of the fringe benefits. That's my appreciation. I give that to them out of the kindness of my heart because it's my appreciation for them working on I still do it, Unless I invite them up intentionally and say, hey, I need you to come up and be at this show. I'll give you a table.
And then, let's see here.
Giving away tables and again, that's where you're talking about those shows run by committees. Wizard, I'm sure, is run by a committee. They're heartless. They don't care. All they're there to see is what their profit margin's going to be. And if they think the profit margin's going to be too lowered, they ain't giving out any free tables. That's why I haven't been at Goldman's the last 3 or 4 years. They don't give out free tables anymore. I mean, they don't ask me to come in and, give away the paper.
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. I think that I mean, it's kind of odd that you haven't been in Motor City for a while.
I was there for the first 30 of them, or the first 26 of them, 25 of them in a row did their T-shirts, but nope. Nowadays, you'd have thought I'd have been grandfathered in, but that's not how that works anymore. Times change.
Yeah. You'll be back. You'll be back. Yeah,
When they invite me, absolutely.
Let's see here. I'm looking in my email. I set up an email for people.
Like for Saginaw, for the Saginaw show that we're holding at the end of June, the 29th. I'm giving 2 tables to Source Point, but that's because I want them there, and I think they might actually pull in people.
One of the
everybody else there are friends that get free tables, and even then, the artist tables are there. I have artist tables that I'm selling because I need to cover the table costs to some artists. Some other artists I want to have there that I think will pull people in, so I give them a table.
So I got a question for you this is a question from one of our listeners on Indie Volt Radio.
Cool.
And this is I got 3 questions here. Okay. So
that have suddenly sprung up. Are you running this live on Indie Volt?
No. I actually put this up a day later.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So this question came in, and it's a bit of a provocative one. I'll reword because
no, I won't talk about my porn career either.
No. Anyway. First of all, the sender English is not his first language, but he wants to know. His name is Miguel, and his question is: the comic industry seems unhinged at the moment. How long before you think there's a tragic event at one of these shows?
That's a really good question. I think Gen Con, there was already somebody getting beat up after the show. During the show, I don't know. It all depends upon the security. But yeah, that has been a genuine concern of mine. Absolutely, Miguel. That's a really, really good and concerning question. You're seeing a lot of the CG guys are figuring out that they don't have to do shows. They're not going to do conventions until they do a CG show. And even then there might be a problem depending upon the temperature of the crowd, at the time that they decide to do it. These guys are better off now just and they figured that out, just doing chats like this, because they're reaching more people directly than what they would ever do at a show. So
it's one of those things. Let's hope we never get an answer to that question.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the industry goes in the next couple of years, because the first time there is an incident like that, you're going to see the convention market drop through the floor.
Yeah.
Really quick. First big, especially at one of these big major run by committee shows, some SJW character goes nuts or some anti-SJW character goes nuts on some SJW people. You are going to see the receipts at those conventions drop through the floor. Gone. So heaven help them if it ever does, because everybody will start. I mean, you'll get a lot more YouTube traffic. There'll be a lot more people looking at, their own little personal comic shop and their own microcosm of however they get their comics. It won't be at a convention. I think you'll see it really, really suffer. Heaven forbid you get some nut job that does a Terminator type move inside of one of these events. I hope it never happens.
Yeah. I mean that's it's like,
because that would be not just tragic, but it would be tragic for the entire industry.
It's one of those questions I hope to never have an answer for.
And I'm sure that Miguel's question is on almost everyone's mind already. And it's just going to take one violent incident to push that right over the edge.
Yeah.
So,
I worry about that.
And I'm not saying it's inevitable, but, I'm saying that everybody needs to be incredibly careful.
let's see here.
And you know, all of this stems back to Wade and Simone talking about wanting to track Richard Meyer down with a baseball bat. It all leads right back to that. Them talking about violence because they didn't like the way he was talking about their products.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, yeah, you got a good point there. I mean, they honestly, Wade left a lot to be.
He's going to pay for it. It's okay.
When he was looking for,
I sincerely think he will. If he's not already, he will. He's still the last. Well, as of last week, at least, considering what Dennis Barger was talking about, he's still full of his self-righteous indignation. So he's not going to learn until the gavel hits the desk, I guess.
So this next question is from Sophia R, which is she must be familiar with your work because she says your series Spank the Monkey on the comic market is a rather racy look into comics.
Bless you, Sophia R. Racy though, I don't know. I didn't think it was that racy.
Well, she wants to know, have you ever considered if you made it a little bit more acceptable to kids that you would increase awareness about comics?
There have been a couple of comic books about comic history. IDW did one that was incredibly dry. My point with Spank the Monkey on the comic market was to not just to entertain, but to inform the current market that was out there. And again, that was that demographic that was that was right as the circle template age was just about to come to a close, you know, and I am looking at doing it again because as more time goes by, the less shocking the character Spank the Monkey can be because it's, you know, more out there in the open. I wasn't going to do a Spank the Monkey comic until after Clinton ended up getting involved with Monica Lewinsky. Oh. If you look at Spank the Monkey #1, this is now Washington, D.C.'s favorite pastime.
Says here she got your books off of Amazon. So yeah.
Awesome. Bless you. I don't know how you got them off of Amazon. I'm not seeing any of that money, but there must be a dealer out there somewhere who likes me, so that's cool. Yeah. Bless them all. The Spank the Monkey at the comic market was used for a couple of community college sequential art courses. They made it required reading to all 3 issues because I shipped out a good, at least a good case of each book out to a couple of different colleges for them to use for their sequential art course, which I was incredibly flattered by.
Let's see here.
Thank you, John Olson. I can say that. I remember that. But yeah, if we were to do it again and do it with a lighter focus, I don't know how many kids we'd get. If I were to sit there and actually do it in a manga format, we might actually get read by a few additional kids who don't know anything about the market. But I'm running into older people that don't realize what the history of comics are. So that's part of what I want to do on my channel.
And you know what, Randy?
Go back and look at my video, Our Comics Kitty Trash on the Zim Geek channel. There's a
Randy, if you try to educate older people, they'll tell you they don't have to understand shit.
Just older, closed-minded people.
I don't have to understand shit.
I don't have to understand shit. Yes, sir.
Traco made a comment that I'm not going to repeat, but it's
how much money am I making in the market right now? Anyway,
Ted says he'd call the bank or his credit card company to dispute the charge for that table. Ted's like, screw talking to him. I'm going to dispute that charge.
That's a good point, Ted. Yeah, that's a possibility. Absolutely.
Just dispute it. It's
I would dispute it as much as just all out refuse it.
Yeah.
Was there ever any big vampire comics throughout history? M3SOZ, you must be young. And again, you go back into the 70s. If you're lucky enough on Amazon, you might actually be able to get Tomb of Dracula in essential form. They kicked out 3, I think, maybe 4 Tomb of Dracula essentials. If you ever get a chance to get those, that's where Blade came from. Beautiful, phenomenal work. Marv Wolfman, wasn't it? Gene Colan.
Yeah.
Was it Marv Wolfman that wrote that stuff?
Oh, I believe it was Marv Wolfman.
Yeah. That Dracula running around in the Marvel universe, incredible. There's 3 good essentials out there. Every last one of them are decent. The third one adapts a bunch of black and white magazines, and those are slightly edited because back in the 70s, Marvel used to kick out black and white magazines that actually showed boobies. So they had to go through and edit out the boobies because the essentials ended up in the bookstores where, in the kids' graphic novels section. So they drew a lot of bikini tops. So was Dark Shadows a comic a couple times? Yes. S3SOZ. Yes, it was a couple times. It was a comic strip too, and there was a comic strip collection put out quite a few years ago that collected the entire strip. It wasn't much of it, but it was well done, well drawn. Yeah, and Gold Key kicked out a couple of issues of it way back when. And I think Innovation, if I'm not mistaken, kicked out a couple of short stories of it back when Innovation was coming out.
My mother has some Gold Key comics, some Disney Gold Key comics. Donald and Mickey.
Yeah. And I never had a lot of appreciation for those, but I've been reading more and more of them lately. So as you see behind me in my spinner rack, I got a copy of Devil Kids with Hot Stuff. Mm-hmm. I bought a set of those, well, 3 or 4 of them at a retailer, just so I can sit and read them. Amazing. Hot Stuff has his own slot machine.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it.
Last question from Indie Volt Radio. Let me see here. Okay, so this one is from Thomas.
Thomas or Tomas?
No, Thomas.
Okay.
HOMAS.
Your reach is worldwide, so you never know.
And he said, he's okay. I've been wanting to know. He's been listening to the show since we started on Indie Volt Radio.
Thank you.
Yeah, he moved to America very recently. He's been taking art classes, one-on-one art classes to break into the comics industry. He's been paying $200 a week to his teacher. When do you believe that he should start seeing some,
results?
Results.
200 a week. You can pay me 200 a week. I'll show him some results. No, you'll know when you have your results. I don't know who you're paying 200 a week, but if you get up on some of these sites like Udemy and there's some online sites, so you can pay a lot less than that for decent art instruction. I always tell the kids, especially when I'm teaching after school here, that there's plenty of art books out there you can teach yourself. You absolutely do not have to pay a college course and expect to any kind of results that you're not going to get off of a book and constant practice. That's the key. Your development is up to you. You need to put in the work. You need to put in the time. You need to draw. You need to develop your own style. You need to go out there and read other people's comics. You need to decide what comics are awesome and what comics suck.
Yeah.
Do more of the awesome stuff, less of the suck stuff, and then get out there and start being seen and hit some of these independent companies like Alterna or Source Point or whoever, and get yourself printed. Last Call Comics, get yourself printed. And get some reaction off your stuff, even if you're not really getting paid for it. Sometimes you're just going to have to do it for the exposure. Even if it's a small short story. Short stories are good to start with because you learn beginning, middle, and ends, and you learn how to do sequential art. Pick up a lot of, try to pick up some spirit sections. Will Eisner kicks out a couple of awesome textbook level books on comics and sequential art and the art of graphic storytelling. I think that's what it's called. Either one of those books are really good. They're like little textbooks. Don't be afraid to read them 3 or 4 times. And he'll sit down and break down a spirit section and give you an explanation as to why he did what. And I still read them to this day and still pull new information out of them all the time. So that's your best bet to do. There's nothing that $200 is $200. I think that's expensive unless you're going to the Kubert school. If you're going to the Kubert school, then you're definitely getting more than $200 worth of instructions, because all of those guys there are old time masters and professionals in the business that know their stuff. But if you're getting it from a sequential art course at some college or community college, I would question the value of your learning. I know a kid who went through the Savannah School of Art Design, which is supposed to be a big highfalutin school to teach art and sequential art. He took the sequential art course, and I sat down with him for 5 minutes and ran rings around what he thought was art history. So
I lied. There's one
take
more.
That as it goes. Okay.
We're
only here for another half an hour though, because I have to get up early tomorrow.
I do not know how to pronounce this gentleman's last name. And he only put his first initial, which is
okay.
Last name is M-L.
We'll call him Mr. M. You don't have to spell it.
Okay. Yeah.
He'll know who it is by the question.
Malarsnik. I don't know, but it's definitely Polish.
Bless your worldwide audience.
Okay. Yeah. It's okay. The question is
after 10 o'clock question.
No. Well, yeah, kind of.
No, we've never known anyone to be able to draw with their penis, but I think it's out there. I've seen some artwork that I would question.
Yeah.
Electra Lives comes to mind, but that's another anyway. Go ahead.
He wants to draw a
incredibly large penis. No, kidding. Sorry, Mr. M. Here we go.
Draw a all-adult version of X-Men, including adult relationships, violence, but having a hard time finding a printer. One printer told him he cannot print it due to copyright. Why is this?
Copyright. You don't want to infringe on copyright, dude. Go back and again. This drives me crazy sometimes when people don't know comics history, who are into comics, who don't even know their history. If you get a chance, go up through Wikipedia and look up the term air pirates and sit there and read the sad tale of a group of former Disney animators who thought it'd be really funny to do an adult version of Mickey Mouse, where Mickey and Minnie are getting it on and Donald and doing all sorts of weird and adult stuff, and how Disney came back on them on copyright infringement. And it wasn't even the fact that they didn't really make a lot of money off of the underground book that they did. It's the fact that Disney was incredibly offended at the fact that they did it, and they literally went and wrecked their lives. And this was back in the 60s and 70s. Nowadays, it would be worse because Disney has gotten a lot bigger, and Disney is part of Marvel. Yeah. Back when I was selling, back when I had my own bookstore, you had a lot of comics out that, and they used to have a whole section of them called Tijuana Bibles that would have popular comic strips back in the 40s and 50s in incredibly hardcore situations. And those were always underground books, always done by people who you could never trace that back to. But when that Air Pirates incident happened, Disney decided that those people needed to be made an example of, and they ruined their lives. And you go back and there are Fantagraphics, I believe, printed an amazing book that actually, this was about 10 years ago. Sorry, that went into that case. If you give me a minute, I could probably dig it up. I got a copy of it here. But Disney just, it wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It wasn't a cease and desist. It was a complete court case and screwing of their life. They owned their income for quite a few years. Disney did. Ooh. They barely had enough to live on.
Oh, because they wanted to. I understand. I was I was looking at a Disney documentary that was done by the family, and they said there was some animators one day that decided to have some fun at a screening there on the Disney, campus.
Yeah, keep talking. I'm going to dig that book up.
Okay. And they played this kind of adult video of Mickey using foul language and, you know, pretty violent. And they said, everybody got a good laugh. Even Walt laughed, thought it was funny. Walked to the front, fired the guys, and then continued on with the meeting. So yeah, Walt was very protective of Mickey himself. Yeah, I could imagine. I think that people, and for Mr. M, do obviously copyright is a thing, and you can't do an X-Men book. You're gonna want to do make your own characters. You can make them somewhat derivative of the X-Men, but you're gonna be hard pressed to find someone who will actually print a X-Men comic for you. And also, you run the risk of being sued into oblivion by Marvel, by Disney, if you were to even try. I would just make my own book and try to sell that. And then obviously, because you want to have it, have situations, sexual situations in there, make an adult book, you're going to be narrowing your fan base there a little bit to just adult.
Yeah, I couldn't find it, but I know I've got a copy of it somewhere. I did find the one of the Eisner books though that you can get a hold of. That's Expressive Anatomy for Comics and Narrative: Principles and Practices from the Legendary Cartoonist. He did a whole series of these books: Comics and Sequential Art, Graphic Storytelling, by Will Eisner. You can find that on Amazon. They have them all there, or you can order it from your local bookstore. But yeah, the Air Pirates book will take me a second to dig up, but I know Fantagraphics did it. I'm sure Amazon would probably still have that in print or close to it.
I'm going to check it out. That seems pretty interesting. And,
yeah, it's a fascinating case, but you feel so bad for these people because one bit of fun that they thought they were having cost them their lives.
Wow.
Mainly because and their livelihoods, mainly because Disney decided that they were going to do it. Oh, what do you know? Somebody's actually offering a copy of Air Pirates on Amazon for $129. Whew, $70. Let me see. I don't even see it listed there now. I don't see the cover on Amazon. They do have some of the Air Pirate funnies that they're selling. They recently found a warehouse of this about 3 or 4 years back, I believe. Somebody found whole cases because they stashed them in a warehouse when they should have destroyed them. So
we're never destroying them. We'll keep them forever.
It's very hardcore Mickey Mouse. When I call up Air Pirates case, I get a bunch of Pirates of the Caribbean material. Now, maybe it's no longer in print, but anyway, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Just look under Air Pirates.
Okay.
It'll be there. I'm pretty sure it'll be there. In fact, let's go there now. I can read that because it probably talks about the full case. Air Pirates Funnies. I have the first issue as my wallpaper on my graphics computer. Got Mickey on a plane transporting some dope across the border. Air Pirates were a group of cartoonists who created 2 issues of an underground comic called Air Pirate Funnies in '71, leading to a famous lawsuit by Walt Disney Productions, founded by Dan O'Neill. The group also included Bobby London, Sherry Flanagan, Gary Halgren, and Ted Richards. And Flanagan ended up doing Trots and Bonnie in National Lampoon. I don't know if you're maybe people out there don't even know what National Lampoon is anymore. Overview: the lead stories in both issues of Air Pirate Funnies created by O'Neill, Landon, Hallegren, focused on Walt Disney characters, most notably the Gottfriedson Mickey Mouse newspaper strip, with the Disney characters engaging in adult behaviors such as sex and drug consumption. O'Neill insisted it would dilute the parody to change the names of the characters, so his adventurous mouse characters also was called Mickey. Ted Richards took on the Big Bad Wolf and the Three Little Pigs, opening up a second wave of parody attacking Disney's appropriation of European and American folklore. In doing so, they infringed Disney's copyrights by using characters the company created without permission. On October 21st, 71, Disney filed a lawsuit against O'Neill, Hallegren, London, and Richards. Flanagan had not contributed to the parody stories.
Yeah, I'm looking at some images right now. Mr. M, if you get an opportunity, I will just you look it up.
The case dragged on for several years. Finally, in 78, the Ninth Circuit ruled against Air Pirates 3-0 for copyright infringement. Although they dismissed the trademark infringement claims in 79, Supreme Court refused to hear the appeal. O'Neill later claimed that his plan in the Disney lawsuit was to lose, appeal, lose again, continue drawing his parodies, and eventually to force the courts to either allow him to continue or send him to jail.
Do you think the comic book legal defense fund like to be a part of that?
No, they would have probably had politely backed out because they were in a losing. They were in the wrong. They knew that they were in the wrong, and there was 101 ways that they could have gotten around it with imagery and naming the characters different or whatever, but they didn't. They did it on purpose in order to get that, and they got their butts whooped because of it, and because Disney had enough of them. And 80, weighing the unrecoverable $190,000 in damages and $2 million in legal fees against O'Neill's continuing disregard for the court's decisions, Disney settled the case, dropping the contempt charges and promising not to enforce the judgment as long as the pirates no longer infringed Disney's copyrights. But they had already ruined these people's lives by then, so they were done in the industry.
Wow.
Here it is, Bob Levin's 2003 book. Okay, that's how old that book is. The book was called The Pirates and the Mouse, Disney's War Against the Counterculture. New York School professor Edward Samuels said, quote, "I was flabbergasted. He told me he had won the case. No, Dan, I told him, you lost. No, I won. No, you lost." To Dan O'Neill, not going to jail constituted victory. However, Samuels said of the Air Pirates, quote, "They set parody back 20 years," unquote. So a lot of these cases, you don't, especially when you hear about public domain cases, a lot of these cases will never go to court because none of these companies want a defined line. They don't want a defined line of what parody is because stuff like this could happen and does happen. But when it comes to public domain cases, they don't want a defined line because they're afraid 9 times out of 10 they're going to lose, because a lot of these properties are getting so old in years. I mean, Superman's up for public domain here anytime. They're doing their best, or had done their best way back when they were doing the archives, to protect that copyright. So
yeah, I don't know.
Ralph left. See you, Ralph.
And as far as
Elite is gone, we're down to 5. So
as far as Mr. M is concerned, I think it's just a big ball of problems trying to do an X-Men comic without permission.
I would say no. There's so many ways that you can change that. Not to do it. Don't do it. You can find a printer who, I know a couple of printers that'll print a hardcore adult material. They just do it at night when some of their offending employees aren't around.
Mm-hmm.
But his big problem is you don't piss on the mouse. You don't piss on the mouse, son. You just don't.
No. The gaffer, don't piss on the mouth. Yeah.
You don't piss off the mouse, just like you don't piss off the IRS. You just don't do it because the trouble that you get into for doing it is not worth the thrill of trying to do it.
Mm.
I always wanted to do an underground book where we would go through and change the characters' names, but sex lives of the superheroes. I think it'd be fun. You know, always, but it would be a hardcore underground property and nobody would sign their name to it and I'd be doing it in everybody else's styles. You know, have things sitting there reading the paper and off on one side is Reed, I'm hiding from you, and then you see this penis go wheeling by. Reed goes, Sue, I'm looking for you. And thing goes, cut it out.
That's cool. But also
Barry Allen runs up to Iris and says, hey, Iris, would you like to have sex? And then the next panel is, would you like to have sex again? And she's all disheveled. Yeah. Then there's always the old joke with She-Hulk. So, and the cotton balls.
Yeah, that's all the questions I so I put up the questions that I put up, you know, what on Indie Vote Radio. I put up an email for people to email us, and so hopefully we'll get a couple more.
Well, thank you, Indie Vote listeners. Appreciate the questions, really do.
Yeah, they can always email me at heyouguys@indievote.com. And I'll take those questions and I will ask Randy.
Ralph, before he goes, says Phil Foglio and Don Lomax did some cool X-rated comics. There's a lot of other people out there that did a lot of X-rated comics too. Ditko did or it's reported to have done some of those too. He had a guy across the hall that did them, and there's a lot of the stuff that they did that looks amazingly like his style. So, Ted, we'll see you later. Ted's leaving.
All right, good
Ted,
night.
sorry to see we're not going to be on much longer, Ted. I got to get up early tomorrow. I'm going to be on the Odd Musings podcast with Brett and Scott Zambelli. So I got to get out of here. Normally it's an hour drive down to where they are, but there's a lot of construction in between. So it's probably going to be at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to get down to them tomorrow. But I keep promising I'll do it, and I need to do it in order to promote the Saginaw show. So. Got to promote. It's on the 29th, 10 to 5. So, Saginaw.
It's going up very quickly here. It's going to be one of those shows where I know I'll enjoy. I like your shows. They're normally one day, but they are. We
do informal crazy shows. So yeah. always a little busy. I don't know how the Saginaw crowd's going to go, but if it's like the event page, it's going to be busy. So
very good, very good.
Lewis says, were you on talk show earlier today? No, that was yesterday. I was on Tom Sumner's program. He's online, TomSumnerProgram.com. In fact, if you get up there, Tom and I and a few other people reenact old radio dramas, which is a lot of fun. And there is an awesome one up there that Tom edited incredibly well off of Maltese Falcon. That's a personal favorite of mine. I got to play Gutman, who is the Sidney Greenstreet character. Oh, I love a man who likes to talk. It was fun. Lots of fun.
And I think that's pretty much all. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. Randy, I understand there's going to be
God bless Rob Liefeld. Should we say that before we go? I hope he keeps speaking his mind. He has an awesome video up there about how there's no longer any action in mainstream comics. Gotta love that.
Yeah, I think that
it's nice to see him come around. The older you get, the wiser you get. Nice to see.
Yeah, a lot of these guys,
respect for Rob.
A lot of these guys are tucked their heads in and they're not saying anything. I don't know who some of them want to piss off. Some of these guys have made so much money on the industry. They should be a little bit more vocal.
And a lot of these guys are, I don't have to understand shit. That just won't get out there and realize what's happening in the marketplace because they're busy trying to kiss the ass of the people there to get a job playing in their playground and making, little money.
Yeah,
So.
I think that I was happy to see Rob come out and say, hey, this isn't. There's some problems here, and had maybe he not been dogpiled on, which I'm pretty sure he was, he would have maybe gone a little bit further. But
he will. He's coming around. He's got enough ability and enough recognition, especially in the retail market, to restart Image his Image line if he ever wanted to. I think he's redoing Youngblood anyway, isn't he?
I'm not sure. He's doing his Major X,
but I know he wanted to create a few more characters for Marvel for his retirement. That's why Major X is out there.
Yeah, he's again, and I think a lot of these guys are just they're afraid. But it puzzles me why he said, okay, I'm leaving Twitter. I'm just gonna be on Instagram from now on. You know what? They'll find you on Instagram just as easy.
Oh yeah. And he'll say something on there too, because once you start talking about the industry, you just can't stop.
Yeah.
That's just not going to. And Rob's old enough, and he's, like I said, he's got enough of a reputation that he doesn't have to worry about how many bridges he burns. So maybe there'll be some sense tucked into. Stranko's the same way. He's said a lot of stuff that has been buried. Tucci is kind of out there doing the same stuff. So just like Tenaple and Ben Skyver. So they're all just going to keep making their own little personal books and making their own personal monies,
Yeah.
That's where we need to be. That's why we're doing this, man. So spread the word. Anybody that's left out there's only 4 people watching, and that's probably M3SOZ and Lewis and you and I. So
everyone else is asleep.
Everyone else went to sleep. Well, it's going to be midnight. It's time for bed. So sorry, guys. Tell your friends anyway, if you're listening to this, to give a listen on YouTube. Indie Vault could use a lot more subscribers. They gained 2 from last week, but they need a lot more. And I'm putting more content up as Zim Geek, where I'm stating more of this. Only I'm flashing pictures and maybe some video clips here and there.
Yep, and obviously as well, we got Indie Vault Radio,
yep.
Indie TV, which expect a lot more content here in the next couple of weeks. I've been very busy, as a lot of people know. I do a lot of the Indie Vault stuff myself. My wife steps in on the radio department a little bit more, but a lot of the stories you see, I have to go around and curate and get some of that stuff.
Got her announcing stuff. Is that what you're doing?
Say again?
Or she does interviews. You have her announcing stuff?
No, she just curates a lot of the music that you hear in the programming.
Take care, M3SOZ. Yeah.
Yeah, she uploads a lot of that you see on there. So
time to kick out your Barry Manilow Air Supply Hour. See what kind of reaction you get.
And that's probably, I was going to say discussion for later when we're off the air, but a lot of the stuff we like putting up indie music, and a lot of these we've met some bands that are awesome. These performers, these artists, who make songs. A lot of these guys are awesome, guys and girls. Yeah, put my music up on my YouTube. And then you run into a few of them that are like, well, I'm gonna need $18 a play. And you're like, I know, no, buddy, sorry, we're not doing that. And they get really mad. They get really ornery, as if,
dude, tell them to think of the exposure. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, haven't you guys heard of exposure? You never went to the exposure market where you can trade all that exposure in for a ham sandwich?
There you go.
They never gone. No one's ever told them. But yeah, it's and then like a lot of the
should talk to Tom and run one of his old radio programs there one night and see what type of reaction you get. So we all sat around, did a cold read of Flash Gordon the first 4 episodes. That was kind of a blast. Always a challenge.
Yeah, we've had some people, and not people, and one
you could pull some weird public domain stuff out, some of those old time radio programs.
Yeah.
Arch Obler Lights Out. I bet a lot of those young kiddies had never heard that before.
There's been some talk of us putting on some old, like some of the old superhero public domain,
Lone Ranger, Green Hornet, Shadow type stuff.
Yeah.
You just got to be careful. Make sure it's in public domain, or else you'll get your butt slammed.
Oh yeah, I was gonna. We were gonna sign up for ASCAP and a couple of other ones.
Should do that too. Yeah.
Jesus, a lot of those are very, very costly.
Yeah, I know.
All right, everyone. So that is going to do it for us. Here, we're going to end 10 minutes earlier, but that gives everybody a chance. They give everyone 10 minutes earlier to get to bed.
Yeah, it gets me a chance to get some sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Zim Geek, YouTube channel, Indie Volt Radio, Indie Volt YouTube channel. We'll be back here next Tuesday. So if not sooner, is that what you were going to say?
If not sooner, stuff happens. Sometimes we have to come online and talk about it.
Yeah, if we have to. Yeah. Some strangeness.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're always welcome for questions. Feel free to put comments down there. Also hit that like button if you're listening after on YouTube after we've already recorded this. Feel free to leave a comment. We'll answer it next week if it's a valid question. We both of us refuse to talk about our porn careers.
Yeah. Mine was short-lived. All right, everybody, that's it for us.
Short-lived.
Yep.
Anyway. All right.
All right, we'll see everybody next week.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here.